Good evening, everybody, and welcome to round number 8 of the 2026 GPVWC Super League season. With Remco de Zeeuw on the camera, you join myself, Ross McIntyre, Ed Hunter alongside me, and Ed quickly approaching the halfway mark of the year, but this one's a special one. We're at Silverstone.
Yes, again, I feel like I've had a very, very extended cameo in the commentary box this season, which I'm sure Caitlin will not at all be jealous of. But anyway, Caitlin is doing well, all the same, while she's held up at work. So yeah, I'm sure she'll be back, hopefully, for Spa onwards. But yeah, in the meantime, here we are, Silverstone British Grand Prix, in the middle of Northamptonshire. I've actually had the pleasure of this year. I'd never been to Silverstone until this year, until I got hired to do some gigs at the kart track nearby, not the full Grand Prix circuit that's getting all the F1 attention in real life this coming weekend, of course. But now, on this Thursday, this is all the Super League field taking to this wonderful track. Always seems to produce some really, really interesting races where strategy becomes a big talking point, and it always turns into a bit of a DRS kind of waiting game. Everybody's waiting for the last couple of laps to try and steal the win off of each other. Loic Mounier tried it last year on Simon Frelick. In the end, Frelick took his first victory in Super League in the stewards room, somewhat controversially, even though he'd had a great drive, so I don't think anybody would take that away from Simon. And Loic won the Drivers' Championship in the end, so I don't think he'd be regretting it now, especially given he's still leading this year's Drivers' Championship by 21 points going into today as well over Maciej Milnek, as there we go, Remco hopefully confirms. So very, very tight for second, but Mounier just every so often when you think Mounier has a slightly off the pace round and you think he's going to be caught by somebody else building momentum, we have a complete turn up and something very unexpected happens. We saw a lot of unexpected things happen in Imola, and Yannick Bock taking Lunark's first win and his first win in a couple of years as well, which has put him up to 9th in the standings. You can see just behind Jan Grankvist, who we've not seen in action since Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. After 3 rounds array, Jan is back at a circuit that he's won at in the past. 2024, Jan had a great performance here where he basically one-stopped it. Him and Robin Pansar one-stopped it and finished first and second ahead of the THRs on that occasion. So he'll certainly take a lot of strength from that. And yeah, a lot of drivers that are hoping to peak at a track that they love. And you can't blame them. It's fast, it's flowing. It's simply Silverstone.
It simply is. It's one of the great racing venues and beloved by drivers and fans alike. We've got all the time in the world to talk about it, but we do have to quickly flash away, though, because qualifying is coming up. I try my best, but no, it is time for qualifying now. You can see cars getting ready to leave the pit lane. So before we jump in to our hot lap session, let's have a little look with an onboard lap and an explanation of how to go around this place with so much history and so much speed as well. Over to you, reigning race winner, Szymon Frelick.
Hello everyone, my name is Szymon Frelick and I will be taking you around for a lap of the Silverstone circuit, the home of British motorsport and the place where I managed to take my first ever Super League win. We open up the final corners and carry as much speed as possible going onto the Hamilton straight, approaching turn 1 and 2, the fast right, going to a fast left, scrubbing as little speed as possible before we're into a heavy braking zone of the technical turn 3 and 4, keeping it to the right as much as possible before flicking it left into turn 4, picking the earliest point of acceleration going onto the Wellington straight. Open up the DRS. It's not a long straight, not a lot of time to think, not a lot of time to prepare for the next set of corners. Aim for the curb on the right, brake on the 50, flick it into Brooklands, then again into Luffield, a corner that just keeps on going. We kind of guess where to accelerate at this point, and then we're off through Woodcote and the old start finish straight. Approaching Cox, the fastest corner on the track, flick it right, not quite full throttle, and then the famous corners just don't stop coming. We got Maggots and Beckett's left, right, before we go again into a left, open up the final right as much as possible and carry the speed onto the hangar straight, DRS open. During the race, this will be the prime overtaking spot for a lot of people. We go uphill, braking lightly into Stowe, carrying the speed, picking up the throttle early, and then we approach the final chicane. A left, and then a right, and good night. Pick up the throttle, and then cut the start-finish line to end the lap. That has been the lap of the famous Silverstone circuit, and I hope you guys will enjoy the broadcast.
Thanks a lot, Szymon, for the onboard. Of course, as Ed mentioned, a bit of an awkward victory for him last year. Won it in the stewards' room post-race P2 on the road. But it's always a place where the Polish driver does go quite well. Let's see if he can mirror last year's antics or go one better. We are underway in our qualifying session. Everyone just on their outlaps at the moment. As always, a private qualifying session. Here in GPVWC, it's all about what you and the machinery can do. No traffic, no slipstream, none of that silly stuff that can get in the way. It is all about you and just one time lap, the fairest way to prove your ability at the very pinnacle of R Factor 2 sim racing. So coming into this one, of course, Ed, you mentioned Jan Grankvist coming back. He's obviously been away for a couple of rounds, was second in the championship when he announced his kind of immediate retirement from GPVWC for a couple of issues. He's been and had a big holiday in Japan. He's come back refreshed and rejuvenated to jump back in the car. You'd think that he is already just going to be somebody you put up for contention for pole position, but Alessandro Maggio, very, very quick in practice. He's always quick over one lap, is the Italian. So keep your eyes on him as well. The True Norths are looking okay, can never factor out TOP either. So I think this could be a very, very tight qualifying session. There's lots of drivers that could be competing for pole position around here. We've had another round of upgrades coming in for the cars as well. So a couple of rounds ago, cast your mind back when it was very much the Lunark was one of the better cars. Now it's a little bit more equal. Everyone's on pretty much level pegging, even with the different routes that they've gone down in terms of their design philosophy. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, especially as we soon get our first laps on the board.
Yeah, time to return to Jan Grankvist because Super Venturi, of course, Jan won the first round of the season in Australia, but they've kind of slipped down the standings. They were, I think, second or third when Jan left, as he has a massive twitch through Stowe on this first flying lap now into Vale and Club, the sort of chicane near the back end. It's just this final corner to go. The super soft tyres, or otherwise just known as soft tyres, being put through their paces. They've got to make sure not to overheat them before the lap. So you see very close between Maggio, Schluter, and Grankvist there. So we've got a man who's been on pole multiple times before in Super League, yet to take that first win. Of course, he has been on the podium, Maggio. We've got Schluter, who's an FSR World Champion, and Grankvist, who's a Super League Champion. So that's quite the stacked top three in terms of CVs there, as Frelick there we just saw setting his first lap, 4/10 off the pace in 8th at the moment. So plenty to build on there as we cut to Davi Amir Amares. I need to call him Amirez there, but it is Amares. So Davi, I think, is this his first appearance for Lion GP, or was he also in play at...
he was a DNF last time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I thought he was near the back. I think might have been the very back of the grid and had a very short race. Sadly, he, just like Jan Grankvist, has a huge oversteer moment through Stove. It's very easy if you get too far over the curb to find yourself basically a passenger at the sort of red and white barrier just before the pit entry there as well. So we've seen many drivers that end their race that way. I think Xavi Ross was in the wall in the closing stages last year here, and that cost him his first ever points finish. So you do have to be careful, especially in the race when you've got significantly worn tyres. In qualifying, less of a factor unless you're pushing very, very hard indeed, which on the first laps, I don't imagine most of the field would be. Here's someone to watch out for. Dylan Fisher, of course, on a bit of a hype mode, took his first podium at Imola, has been very strong in qualifying consistently this season. And Luna, as you said, they may not have the car advantage that they necessarily had in the last couple of rounds, but they're still very competitive, and their morale is going to be absolutely soaring going into their home race as well. So Fisher then, looking to impress the virtual home crowd, starts his first flying lap here.
Let's see how he does coming towards the end of the first sector split. 1.5 tenths away from the fastest sector 1 time so far, but that is probably the most technical part of the racetrack heading into the loop section. Now, coming out of, in my opinion, what is the best stretch of racetrack in the world, the run from Brooklands all the way to Stowe, Copse Corner, flat out, full commitment in a modern Formula car, but it's got to be so precise. You are right on the edge of physics, on the edge of grip. Left, right, Maggots, Beckett, and Chappell. These sweeping S's that are so tricky at the best of times, but it looks okay for Fisher at the moment. It's a little way off in sector number 2, though. We're looking to plonk himself around about where his teammate is at a glance, maybe a bit further back, 14th or 15th. Stowe Corner now has another moment there, and he gets it very wrong and immediately abandons that lap. Seen that from a couple of drivers now there, Ed, coming through Stowe over the rise, just losing that rear end a little bit. Do you think that's maybe just these new regulations as Carlos Mann in purple final sector goes up into P6 as the Spaniard? But yeah, do you think maybe it's just a little bit of the newer regulations don't have as much downforce as we did last year? There's a little bit more of a finer line right on the limit of grip, and especially when you're reliant on downforce in the corner, it can probably snap away from you a bit quicker.
Yeah, it's always been a little bit of a danger corner. It's also a great overtaking opportunity because it's right at the end of Hanger Straight, which is a DRS zone, effective, it has been in past seasons, of course. As we see Fletcher, nearly has the rear end just escape off track there, but he collects it up in the valley, does the Spaniard. And Fletcher, who's been having a very, very consistent season near the front, is just a couple of points away from Maciej Milnek in the standings then. So if Sergio can have a good race today, he could retake that runners-up spot and become the main challenger to Loic Mounier once again. Just something to keep an eye out on in Super League. We have an outstanding free play position penalty for Mark Schluter for, of course, the incident that we saw in Imola last time out. I believe Lucas Murno also has a back of the grid penalty. I forget what Murno's incident was, but he is on the server at the moment, lapping on the hard tyre. So Murno, knowing he's at the back grid no matter what, is just getting some laps in on the hardest possible compounded tyre to prepare for the race, essentially. Almost certainly on heavy fuel. As there is Milnek for the Holland Racing team. Still, actually, despite what I said at the end of Imola, they are still the leaders in the team's championship. 159 points to THR's and 46. But THR certainly a lot closer. Remember, it was about 40 points or above 40 points. They were ahead at one point, and now that gap close to just 13 points coming into THR's home round, of course, where, of course, both Tom Stevens and Jarl Tartan with a customary special livery. I think Fraser Tartan's have also got a special livery, although keeping the plain white and black livery is TOP with Simon Frelick, of course, although it did him a lot of good last season when it took him to victory, of course, where he qualified on the front row and was able to assume the lead fairly early in the race, by about halfway point in the race, while the others tripped over each other behind. He had just about enough to keep Moynier ahead until the end of that final lap, and even then the move Moynier made ended up pushing Frelick off track. So you can see there Maggio has improved to 127.754 with 6 minutes to go. Schluter just 73 thousandths behind him, and then Grankvist the 10th down, as I think who's just improved there? Was that Xavi Ross and Loic Moynier getting up to 5th and 6th there for Adonis and Spark respectively. Frelick only able to get up to 9th, but he is almost into the 1 minute 27, so it's very close for Martin, Milnik and Frelick, all on the verges of breaking into the top 6 in that mythical 127 bracket there.
It's getting tighter as the track gets quicker and quicker and the session ticks away. Not far away from 5 minutes to go, we'll start to see the final preparation for the final laps pretty soon. Dylan Fisher up to 11th in the Lunark. His teammate Yannick Bock down in 17th at the moment. Race winner last time out, of course, the double world champion. Surely there's more left on his plate. There is Tom Stevens. The THR's also seemingly struggling a little bit for one lap pace here today at the moment. As you mentioned, Ed, a special livery for the Leeds-based squad. It's showing their support for the Cats Protection Foundation. Cats.
I thought it was a Spark from a distance, but yeah, it is the Cats
Not
Protection.
quite. It is the Cats Protection Foundation. Cats is something that's very important to team boss Toby Davis and the squad in general. If you watched any of the FS1 live streams from last year, more often than not, Toby did end up just talking about his cat after he was losing his mind.
I'm pretty sure
over
I was on the
standard.
FS1 stream.
Was it FS2 then?
It was FS2.
It was
yes.
FS2. There we go. Got there in the end. But
yeah,
yes,
I remember
Cats...
that because we were fighting for the win, and he was like showing pictures of his cat. Anyway, that was between races. So
the head of media,
Tom Stevens improves to P12. There
P12, yes. Oh, good lap there from Fletcher as well. Green, purple, yellow up to P3 and within a 10th of his teammate. And as it currently stands, with that penalty for Mark Schluter, it is a Valet Esports 1-2 here at Silverstone. Grankvist, though, looks like he's on a good lap. Could well be trying to upset that apple cart, and will have time for one more as well. The 2024 world champion, been away for a couple of races, but sticks it onto the front row. Only 12 thousandths away from Maggio. Grankvist looks like he hasn't missed a beat. He's gone away, been on holiday, rejuvenated himself, got that hunger, that passion back for sim racing, and now is showing us why he is still considered to be one of the very best in this business. 3 minutes and 30 left to go in the qualifying session. Maciej Młynek on 2 personal best sectors at the moment, but unless he finds something special coming through Vale and Club, I don't think it's going to be challenging right at the top end of the grid. Let's see what the Polish driver can do in the HRTs. He comes to line, improves 1 place. Must have been a small error there in the final sector. I will say, Ed, really impressed with Mark Schluter so far in this session. Yes, he does have the penalty, of course, so he's going to want to be pushing to get himself as high up as he can to get that damage limitation, I suppose. But Silverstone's a track he's never historically run particularly well. Our best result here of 8th. A DNF last year, and then in the season before 15th place. So it's a track that's not been historically too kind to the German. Doing very well right now, though. Did just see Norbert Jakob as well. Had a purple middle sector, but abandoned the laps. There's still time on the table here for a lot of drivers, Ed. We're going to be seeing our final flying laps very shortly.
Yeah, and of course, only 3 places that would put him just behind Xavi Ross into P6 at the moment then. So it may be a bit of an annoyance that he won't get to start necessarily on the second row, although we still got a 2 minutes, as you say, left to go. Jarl Tartan, who has been very strong in qualifying the last couple of rounds, at the moment down in 16th position, just behind Jukka-Pekka Lalu. So the 2 THRs either side of the second of our Super Ventures. Lalu, of course, a former podium finisher here, so no slouch around Silverstone International Circuit. But yes, Tartan, who himself. I think Ty took an engine penalty last season here, so he was near the back of the grid and he got up to 5th by the end, from I think 26th or 27th, which was one of his second most impressive comeback drive after going from the very back to win at Monza, of course, very memorably. 2 tenths off almost in that first sector there, so THR have really got to hope that they've got a car that can run very, very long and is very kind on its tyres here, because at the moment they're running out of time to turn things around here. So Ty, second last time out, was had victory stolen away from him by Yannick Bock in Imola. Has got to at least improve up the grid here and maybe sneak into the top 10, a personal best in Sector 2, but again, he's behind on Maggio here, so he's only going to get one more run as well. Let's hope the soft tyres have another lap in them.
Wait to see. 1 minute left in this session. This is it. Do or die time here at Silverstone. Leave all the cards on the table. And it is going to be die for Jarl Tyne, who won't even start in the top 15. Wow, that is well off the pace. What a middle sector, though, from Xavi Ross. He, the Adonis driver, could be putting something special on the board here. The Spaniard only has a handful of corners to go, and that could be enough potentially for pole position. This is it from Ross to the line there as he's fully committed, and he does go to pole by 400ths of a second. Xavi Ross reintroduces himself in his qualifying session. Has anyone got anything to respond to that? What a lap from the Adonis driver.
And boy, they needed that one. It's been a pretty dry time for Xavi Ross. Not really inside the top 10. Only one top 10 this season, 9th in Bahrain. Other than that, it's been slim pickings, of course. But this is a circuit that he's so strong at. As I said, he was fighting for the top 5 when he unfortunately spun off last season. Checker flag is out, 127.7. You can see here's Grankvist only 7 thousandths behind him in the first sector, which was, of course, Ross's weakest sector. The middle sector here as we go through Maggots, Beckett, and Chapel for the Finn Jan Grankvist. This will be crucial on his return. Of course, Super Venturi, they did upgrade the engine at the previous round, so Grankvist arriving in time to take advantage of that 66 thousandths off in Sector 2. So he's going to have to do all the hard work in Sector 3. Let's see what happens here, Ross.
Wait to see. Grankvist, his first race back in a long old time after supposedly retiring. It's close. It's green and green, but is it enough to steal that pole position slot away to the line? Yes. What a final sector, and the Finnish driver, the 2024 world champion. Welcome back, sunshine, after a couple of rounds. Mark Schluter, though, could be trying to upset the apple cart. Again, he will not start on pole position if he gets it with a 3-place grid penalty. Maggio's on a lap as well. Schluter to the line. It's a messy final sector, does not improve. Maggio is up by 200, slides his way out of the Vale chicane. He'll be down. He'll go second. It will be Jan Grankvist on his return who will be taking pole position here at Silverstone. And it just goes to show that when you are someone the caliber of the 2024 world champion, you don't need to be here every round. You don't need to put the practice in. You could just turn up and do things like that. Jan Grankvist is back and on pole position here at Silverstone with an unbelievable sector number 3. He will be joined by Alessandro Maggio on the front row. Xavi Ross goes off of P3. Mark Schluter starts in 4th, but does have a 3-place grid penalty. So we'll be starting in P7, I want to say it will be. Yes, it is. Well done, I can do maths. So that'll be Sergio Fletcher up on the front row. Then Norbert Jakab 5th. Loic Mooney is 6th, then Mark Schluter alongside Matt Shane winner. Carlos Martin, a pretty respectable P9 race winner here last year. Shimon Frelich rounds out our top 10. And actually the field split a little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be. Nearly half a second back to Shimon Frelich in P10. So clearly the guys at the front, a lot more pace than anticipated. Jose Soriano leads the road to Formula Charge in P11 alongside Eros Masciuli. Then it's Dylan Fisher in P13. He'll be a little bit disappointed with that one. I think the whole Lunark squad will be after their 1-3 last time out, their maiden Super League victory. Tom Stevens, another team, another driver that will be disappointed. 14th place for the THR man. Jukka-Pekka Laulu is in P15 alongside Jarl Tyne. Last year's vice champion doesn't even make it into the top 15. Wow. THRs with a bit of work to do. Row number 9, I think. Yes, row 9. There we go. I'm good at math still. Yannick Bock and Oscar Soltero. Of course, Bock race winner last time out. We'll see in a short moment. Rounding out our top 20 is Pavel Andrzejewski and Philip Pushka. Drake Racing, of course, the Welsh squad. This also being their home round, but a little bit off it would seem, so far here today. But, you know, there's 54 laps of racing to look forward to. Anything could happen. Our final 8 drivers on the grid this evening. Tomasz Vlach, P21. Then Davi and Marit. Let's hope he can finish this race after a DNF in his Super League debut last time out. Chris Shepherd and Jeffrey Fournier form a Red Archer VRT row 12. Then it's Moritz Kropp and Tom van der Voort, Daniel Scott and Lucas Murno, who has a backer grid penalty anyway and was clearly just doing some hard tyre testing in that session. So that is your grid view. On the subject of tyres, of course, given it's Silverstone and you get a lot of tyre wear around here, it is the 3 hardest compounds that you have available at your disposal this evening. C3s for the softs, C2s for the mediums, and C1s for the hards. But we are still very much expecting a strategy battle race. The track surface here at Silverstone, not particularly abrasive. It's just the high G-force and the high-speed corners that rip rubber to shreds. But as we get out in our warm-up session, it was a pretty crazy race a couple of weeks ago. If you cast your mind back through the heat wave we've had in Europe, if you can still remember anything and you haven't sweated your brain out of your ears or something like that, let's have a run back and remind ourselves what happened when we were at Imola a couple of weeks back. Welcome back to the pinnacle. Welcome to GPVWC Super League, and welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, better known to you or I as Imola.
Lights already on, 4 lights, 5 lights, and we're about to get underway for the 7th round of the season in Imola. And Autodromo Enzo e Dino Ferrari roars into life then as they all slot into a line. Our top 5 on the run into Tamburello. Yartan pulls to the outside, trying to pass Alessandro Maggio. You can see Fletcher nearly making contact with Tyne into the first corner. We're seeing, I think Stevens and Jakob not making great starts. Stevens down to P16, Jakob down to P17. There we go, as we see behind Carlos Martin. A bit of side-by-side between Xavier Ross and Alex Laho. Laho drops to P9 now as he's trying to go back up the inside of the Adonis into Tosa, but not quite able to do so. But crucially, it is Maggio that has made a bid for freedom here, nearly 6/10 to the good ahead of Jarl Tyne. As we see side by side, that is Lucas Murno now threatening Tom Stevens, but it's Stevens that's gained the position into Piratella to get past the Brazilian back into the points paying positions. But this is going to be a long evening for Tom Stevens. Of course, the big advantage to Valet and Lunac, because they get both their cars at the front. Jarl Tyne can't really rely too much on any help from Stevens, because Stevens is down in P15 behind Shea Hatches. Moynier to the outside and splits the 2 Lunacs by clearing Yannick Bock there. Tyne takes the lead. He does indeed. For Maggio, and he's fallen behind Fletcher as well, so clearly it's into Variant Alta. He's had an off-track moment or something. And one mistake has completely changed the picture. Now Tyne on the mediums can run longer than both the valets behind him.
Of course, it was a bit weird last year with the tyres, but it was actually better to sit behind the driver behind. So maybe Fletcher. This is beneficial for Fletcher, who's trying to go the long way round down at Tamburello. Oh my word, Sergio Fletcher! That is superb from the Spaniard. Replay of this one, of what happened. So this is coming through Variante Alta at the top of the hill. Was it just a better run, a small mistake potentially from Fletcher? Yeah, looks like he let him through.
Maggio made a mistake there. But Maggio is not saved now because Moynier on the mediums will take advantage. 11 laps in, the soft tire runners are starting to struggle a bit here. Fletcher aside, and in comes Jarl Tyne back around the outside. So the slipstream was just too powerful. Tyne into first, Moynier into third.
In comes Alessandro Maggio. So the first of our boxes, or fourth place should I say, and it's a set of hards.
And fishing out was personal best lap there is 118.8, and here comes Bock doing the same thing to Alex Laho. So Laho is now starting to drop like a stone.
To the pits comes Sergio Fletcher. Looks like a set of hards as well. So, okay, that's interesting. Tyne's in earlier than I thought he was going to be.
THR maybe
sorry.
seeing a gap here with the Fraser Tartans holding them up.
Could be. Let my brain do some processing for a second.
Going
here,
for
Ed.
softs here from the mediums.
Really? Softs? Okay.
That's what we're seeing at the moment. Murno into.
Mounier comes in from the race lead. Yannick Bock doesn't inherit. Both Lunarks going long in this opening stint, it would seem. Lap 21 of 63. And your reigning world champion brings it in to the box.
The two stop and everyone else did the free stop.
Yeah.
And in comes, speaking of which, in comes Bock. So this is sort of roughly where expected. A lot of the mediums that were running a bit longer would start to pit then. And indeed, in comes Bock and Martin and Aaron Vasquez.
In there will come then. Bock, again, we'll have to wait for it to update it.
Ooh,
Hasn't
Vasquez very
refreshed
close.
very tight.
Oh, and he hits Martin.
Vasquez, Martin, and was that Vasquez coming together with him? The two countrymen have collided in the pit lane, and there's no front wing for Aaron Vasquez. He'll be sat there a long old time getting that repaired.
This almost feels a bit like an iRacing thing where he thought he could phase through the car in front of him, did Vasquez, and that was not the case, sadly. So they come in. You can see Martin has got the pit box space. You can see there is Bock being released just behind. So Bock luckily doesn't make contact with Vasquez. Vasquez turns in, sort of does not expect it at all, and by the time he realizes the rear tire is gone.
There goes Dylan Fisher with the DRS partial.
Milnek on the grass!
Oh, look at Mache trying to squeeze it around the outside. Can he hang on? They come together and spinning goes Munich and Schluter.
I feel like he wasn't given any space from Mark Schluter here.
Wheels as well. They touched wheels on the run in and then just locked into each other.
Just messy.
Lucky. Yeah, lucky they got away with
Milnek
that.
taking a lot of risks there, and you have to say that was nearly both HRTs retiring.
Can he find anything on Alessandro Maggio? Looks to the inside a little bit too far. Maggio and onto the gravel, almost catching the pair of them. And there is the mistake from Alessandro Maggio. But it's not what you'd expect from drivers of McGorgy.
Here comes Mounier.
Here comes Luke Mounier, meanwhile, to the outside. This will be pretty easy on Sergio Fletcher. Gets it done for the braking zone. Up to second goes the reigning world champion. Is he going to go hards or mediums to the end? I'd presume so. We'll wait to see what tyres the THR car is going to put on. We'll just wait to confirm that as he flashes through.
Oh, no, it's soft. Sorry. It looks like another set of softs.
Yeah.
Which is kind of...
Is he three? I mean, obviously he's three stopping, but...
It's very aggressive. If he loves these softs, then why not? And this is Bock, who's now taken the lead of the race. As you see in the background, Fletcher being picked up by Dylan Fisher. But yeah, very tidy, clinical move from the double Superleague champion Bock on the reigning champion, Mounier. He's been passed by both THRs while we've been looking. And now Milnek, next target for Tom Stevens, who's pulling Yartine almost along at this phase of the race up the inside. And it looks like Milnek didn't even really defend the inside on the run into Tamburello.
It was Bock for his final pit stop. Looked like a set of mediums there
Mounier as well.
And yes, like Mounier in as well. And he'll be coming off for his final stop as well. So he's lost time there overall, actually.
Soft, stick with the overspeed time, not messing around at all. Mounier knows that he's not going to stop that. Tom Stevens, by the way, sits at 116.7. He's passed Matteo Milnek for P6. So Stevens from 15th on the grid is not out of the fight for P5.
Seen flashes of what we know Yannick Bock can do so far this season. But here at Imola, this is the man that we know. This is the man that we love. And this is the man who's leading the race.
And here comes
Time, that is as easy.
Could do. There we go.
That is so easy for Yartime with the overspeed, with the DRS up the inside. He's got 6 seconds to catch Yannick Bock in about 10 or so laps. The gap still stands at about a second as they make their way through Villeneuve for the final time. It is so tight out there. Two greats of GPVWC neck and neck for the race lead. Two fantastic drivers going side by side into Tamburello as Winnick and Stevens come together. Winnick goes round and will hold on to 7th place as he completes a 360. Maybe he'll drop down to 8th. Through goes Alex Laho. 1,365 days. The two-time champion, after a long old wait, is back on top in GPVWC. First Super League victory for the Lunark squad as well. What a night. Valley Esports just didn't quite get it executed well today. Imola was certainly something last time out. Yannick Bock, two-time world champion, taking his first victory in his returning season to GPVWC. Also, Lunark's first Super League win. Dylan Fisher as well, his first ever Super League podium. A great race for those guys, a very entertaining race as a whole. But Silverstone, Ed, it's a whole different animal. 52 laps away, that's around this 5.9 kilometer circuit. Of course, maybe a bit more tricky to overtake here than it would be at Imola. Both very high downforce circuits, yes, but not a lot of heavy braking zones. Well, there are heavy braking zones, but you're more reliant on the DRS, I'd like to say here, even though at Imola you're also pretty reliant on the DRS. You know what, I'm just going to stop talking about that because I've realised as I started to make a comparison, it was a rubbish comparison. But the point still stands, is that after this race, we are at the halfway mark in the season. So the championship picture, of course, changing and shaking with every single twist and turn of the season. Obviously, Jan Grankvist is back, and you can always count him into the title contention. 53 points adrift of Loic Mounier as it stands. The reigning champ's nearest challenger at the moment is Maciej Młynek, 21 points back. Sergio Fletcher also within a race win on 24. So it's tied out there. Mounier, the Spark Nix car doesn't seem to be... It's not off pace, but it's not where you'd expect it to be. Although I also am of the opinion that Mounier's been out driving the car quite a lot so far this season. So it could well be that going into the halfway marker of 2026, that gap gets a lot tighter once again. It was a bit of a disappointing run for the Frenchman last time, or the last couple of rounds, by his standards anyway. 13th place in Malaysia due to incidents, and 5th place in Canada, 4th place in Imola. Not bad by any means, but again, he's losing points to those behind, and by his standards, you'd want him to be up there, at least on the podium.
Well, lucky for him, nobody else... Młynek has won 2 races, of course, Jeddah and Canada, but other than that, nobody's really been able to build up a huge amount of momentum. We saw HRT had a bit of a nightmare round last time out, with Młynek having those 2 spins, one courtesy of Schluter, the other courtesy of Stevens, contact with both of them, and that's probably why Schluter got the 3rd place penalty for this round. And then, of course, Carlos Martin being getting a friendly bump in the rear from Aaron Vasquez that I don't think Carlos appreciated one little bit. So Teams Championship, as I say, 13 points between them and THR, and they've both qualified into, of course, they've got the HRTs to out-qualify both the THRs, but with the race still to go, a lot of strategy left to play out. We don't know who's going to be kindest on their tyres. Silverstone, much harder on the tyres than Imola, to be honest, with some of the faster corners. And there are a couple of interesting sections, and the strategy is going to be really, really interesting, because even though the pit stop sort of cuts out the final corners, essentially, that little chicane at Vale and Club, it is a slower pit entry then. So doing one less pit stop, it is possible in theory to do the one stop here, but in these 2026 style Super League cars, we saw in qualifying that they were a little bit more twitchy and unpredictable. I think you were right to point that out, Ross, and that could, with heavy fuel tanks, the fuel tanks are bound to be loaded up full of fuel to get to the end of the race, that could really become a factor then. So I think the hard tire is probably going to be the preferred one, but this first stint, do you put the soft on or the medium before you switch to the hard? Nobody wants to be slow off the line is the thing. So yeah, halfway point of the season, and yeah, somebody is really going to have to up the wick if they want to stop Mounier, who's winning very much through consistency at the moment, rather than chaining together wins as he was at the beginning of the season. For Jan Grankvist, having missed 3 rounds, I think he will need bad luck for those ahead for him to come back. Although we've seen Jan miss a couple of rounds last season, he was still in the mix with 2 rounds to go. So you can never count out Jan Grankvist, because he is uncount-outable until mathematically it's not possible anymore.
Yeah, that's certainly one way to describe the Finnish driver, but it's all up in the air, and there's still 8 rounds left to go after this one. Of course, we're deep into the European stretch now. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be heading to Spa, then Hungary, then Germany, and then we've got our summer break before coming back for Monza, Kota in the United States. That God, we're going back there. Indianapolis was a bit rough last year, let's all be honest. Then Singapore, Abu Dhabi.
I was commentating on that one. It was nice.
Yeah, I know, but I remember watching it. I can't remember where I was, but I remember watching it, and it was bleak.
Certainly Loic will be glad they're not going back there, because him and Moritz came together. Although Moritz was on pole, wasn't he? Yeah. It was his first and today only pole in Super League. So obviously Moritz with I think he had the worst engine of anybody in terms of percentage of life left in the engine. It was 54.14% or something like that. So Moritz a little bit further. Or am I getting mixed up with the other Fraser Tartan? Yeah, I might be getting mixed up with the other one, with the substitute driver in the other car then. So it's Pavel Andrzejewski, I think, has got the worst engine. Moritz has, I think, actually at least 70% in his. So it's all good on that front. But yeah, Moritz, yeah, he was very, very good in qualifying at Indianapolis, and it was a huge shame for him. This race was, I think you just want to forget that entirely. So I think going to COTA, we'll see him very, very nicely on multiple levels, since it's a track that he also is pretty strong at as well. So the Dutchman certainly on the up in sim race. I was commentating another championship on the Mon Ultimate, and Moritz just popped up in there in LMP2 all of a sudden. So it's funny the way you meet people in sim racing. You just it's good to know people because you keep popping up into the good ones, I guess. And Moritz is one of those.
Certainly is. But the warm-up session is over. It is time to get ourselves ready and raring for 52 laps at one of the most storied circuits you will find anywhere in the world. Certainly here in these green and pleasant lands. It's time for round 8 of the 2026 GPVWC Super League season. It's time for the British Grand Prix. And we still didn't time it right. No one's on the grid. It's been half a year.
Yeah, I was rambling. I was trying to fill.
I took a punt. I was like, yeah, that's probably about right there, isn't it? But
we can do it again. I don't mind.
We can if we want. Maybe let's wait till cars start popping onto the grid, and then we'll give it another go.
I'm gonna be waiting for stars to come out of this room, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do it again. We'll get someone to edit that out in post, right? And it will be fine.
This is a live broadcast, I think, right?
Yeah, but if I just tell people at home to forget, they will. So forget this bit's happening. But we'll get there in the end. We will get there. Trust me. Still, it sets me a really. Oh well, I tried.
That wasn't part of what you told me to say, but anyway.
I do try my best, but yeah, very excited for this one. I think it is safe to say, of course, Silverstone. As I've been mentioning, it is one of. I'm not biased. I'm not a very patriotic person at all when it comes to, oh, this is in Britain, so at best this racetrack. But I do believe that this is arguably the best racetrack in the world. I just love this place so much. Of course, Ed, you've been there a lot as well at the karting circuit this season, which I'm hoping to try and get to for the MotoGP there for some. There, I don't know if I will yet, unfortunately, but. Again, even though you've maybe not been on the full circuit proper, the scale and the grandeur of this place, you step foot there and you can feel the history.
You do get a good glimpse of it, actually, from the balcony outside the cafe at the karting track, which serves good pizza, by the way. But anyway, lovely people there, having met them. But yeah, it is such a huge facility. The first time I went there, I'd be getting lost basically in an industrial estate and running into like some construction day workers. I couldn't actually get to the kart track from where I was trying to enter because the workmen told me to basically go around. But yeah, it is. There's so much history there. You really do get a feel for that. And speaking of which, we're about to make a bit more history. We're about to get underway then for our round 8 of the 2026 GPVWC Super League Championship here at Silverstone.
First try, baby. No problems there whatsoever. But we are underway on our sighting lap here at Silverstone. Let's run you through the grid one final time as we prepare ourselves for 52 laps of racing. It's a returning Jan Grankvist on pole from Alessandro Maggio, Javi Rose in third, Sergio Fletcher, both valets quick. He is P4. Can they make those tyres last though? We'll wait to find out. P5, Norbert Jakob alongside the reigning champion Loic Mounier. Then it's Mark Schluter with that grid penalty down to P7. Maciej Młynek leads the HRT charge, completing row 4. Rounding out our top 10, then is Carlos Martin and Szymon Frelick, soon to be technically countrymen as Carlos finally gets his move to Poland. Jose Soriano and Eris Masculi start just behind them. Tom Stevens, a disappointing qualifying for THR. He's 13th, directly in front of his teammate, but alongside Jukka-Pekka Laulu. Race winner last time out in Yannick Bock starts P16. Then it's Oscar Soltero and Paweł Andrzejewski, P19 and P20, Filip Puszka and Tomasz Vach. There may have been an extra penalty for someone, or someone may have dropped out, because these guys all look like they've jumped forward a place to my eyes. Davi Maris is 21st. Let's hope he can finish this race after a DNF in his debut last time. He's alongside Chris Shepherd. They're followed by the Frenchman and Geoffrey Fournier. And Tom Van der Voort's 25th, sorry. Then it's Daniel Scott, and then Dylan Fisher and Lucas Murno, who had a back of grid penalty. So maybe
Fisher's been sent to the back as well, because he qualified 13th, wasn't it? Or 12th or 13th on the grid.
Yeah, he must have had a penalty that we missed potentially. He had his fastest lap discounted due to track limits, according to Chris Williamson from our race control. Big thanks to Chris for keeping us posted. So real shame there for Dylan. His maiden podium last time out, and he's going to start his home race right down the back. But up front, it's the 2024 champ, Ed. He's returned after 3 rounds away. It wasn't quite a rage quit, but it was lacking the motivation to continue on for the time being in GPVWC. But he's had a holiday, he's become rejuvenated, and he's showing us what we've missed out on. But it's one thing to be quick and quali, it's another thing to be fast over 52 laps.
Well, he's also been competing in certain other championships that we won't go into detail about. But yeah, he's kept his toes in the water at a top level in sim racing. It's just a couple of things behind the scenes that I wasn't 100% happy about, and he did talk about a little bit in some of the post-race interviews, if memory serves. There's Lucas Murno just getting in position near the back of the grid. It'll be interesting to see if Dylan Fisher, having taken his first spin, can make up ground here. But these first couple of corners into Farm Village and the loop, it really bunches up here, so they'll have to be careful. Lights on.
It was messy in Superlights in the rain. Let's see if we keep it clean in Super League. The British Grand Prix gets underway. Good launch there from Javi Ross, third on the grid. Maggio's going to have the run on Jan Granqvist as they go wheel to wheel. The Italian muscles the Finnish driver out the way. But straight on the counter-attack goes the 2024 champ. 3 wide in the background as they head into the loop section for the first time. And Maggio's got it wrong. There's cars off the road and around in the background. More contact between Maggio and Loic Mounier there. And Maggio, a simple little error, has dropped him from second all the way back down into P7, down towards Brooklands for the first time. One of the Fraser Tartans now off the road, but keeps it pointed in a straight direction as they're still fighting for every inch of tarmac out there on this opening lap. A great start though for Jan Granqvist. He leads here early door as we run down to Kops for the first time.
Yeah, great launch up the line from Maggio, but you saw he lit the rear up. I didn't see if there was contact from behind or not. But yeah, suddenly he was onto the grass and trying to rejoin almost into the side of Mounier, and there was no room for the valet. They're still going side by side as they Tom Stevens trying to get a cheeky position into Maggots and Beckett's off of Jose Soriano. You see just behind him, Soltero and Masculi side by side. There's been an incident near the back of the field. Andrzejewski, I believe, involved, and I think Van der Voort too, as there's a red archer on the grass.
Yeah, going straight on, must have come together on the run into Chapel by the looks of things. A pretty chaotic opening lap here, but I believe we do still have everybody in this race for the time being. Granqvist will complete lap number 1. Sergio Fletcher is hot on his tail. There goes Loic Mounier. Brave move up the inside at Club, and the champ's up into P3. Was that a mistake potentially from Xavi Russell? Brilliance from the Frenchman. We'll have to wait and see in a replay once again, but a great start here from Loic Mounier and into the podium at places. Again, a couple of off rounds by his standards, missing out on the podium for 3 races on the trot now. He'll be keen to get back up there, maybe even take his first win since round number 3 at Bahrain. We'll wait to see what he's got in store, but he's certainly going to try and go on the attack on the front pair. Alessandro Maggio looking to recover after that half spin on the way out of Village, holding on to P6, putting the pressure on Norbert Jakob.
Yeah, plenty of action further down the field. Both Van der Voort and Ramirez coming into the pits after their issue in Sector 2, coming up to sort of Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel then. But yeah, Maggio keen to regain ground, but Mounier, that was clear. I think they'd be right. There was definitely a little error from Ross. Ross, who'd done so well to qualify in the top 3, making that one mistake and that was all Loic Mounier needed. When you're up against Loic Mounier, the reigning champion, you really need to be on your A game, and Ross maybe didn't quite have the tyres up to temperature, but look at Fletcher in the DRS of Grankvist. So one valet hitting trouble, but the other really putting the pressure on, and this has sort of been, in a way, the story of the season between these two. Maggio hitting a bit of trouble, having to recover, whereas Fletcher is running right at the front and trying to put pressure on the race leader, as there is Tom Stevens still stuck in 12th position. His teammate Tyan has not really made any progress. He's still stuck behind Jukka-Pekka Laulu down in 17th position.
Different rubber for all three of our front runners. Grankvist on hard, Fletcher on mediums, Mounier on the soft. So already strategy battles unfolding early doors here. Mediums seem to be the tyre of choice for this opening stint. Lucas Murno already into the pit lane, so potentially problems for the Brazilian. He did, of course, have a back of grid penalty going into this round. So some illegal manoeuvring in qualifying at Imola last time out. Hopefully everything is okay for the Lion GP driver. We follow around Tom Stevens. Let's see if he can make up some places. Both THRs struggling here, it would seem. Jarl Tynes down to 17th. Let's see if Tom at his home race, the team's home race, can make some progress and at least break into the top 10 here early doors. He's surrounded by a couple of soft shed runners, Solzero and Vuk behind as he runs it very, very wide out of cops. He'll get away with it. So easy to do that, though. If you just catch a awkward bit of dirty air or the draft from the car in front, it's such a full commitment corner there, and suddenly you're understeering or the car breaks away to you. But he's got away with it for the time being.
Fletcher takes the lead.
And he does indeed up the front. That must have been with DRS down into Stowe corner. The Spaniards up in the lead here as we're about to go into lap 4.
Important move too, because Mounier is lapping about half a second quicker, and now he's got Grankvist right in his sight. So Fletcher needs to disappear up the road like a scolded cat at this point on these mediums, while Grankvist holds up Mounier, who could be a big threat to him. So remember, Simon Frelick down in 10th. He is also on the softs, and he's giving Mark Schluter a bit of a hard time. But there's a DRS train back there between a load of medium runners, Maggio, Milnek and Martin, both HRTs in that pack too. So that is going to protect Mark Schluter a little bit. He can keep with them on the hards.
We'll wait to see. On to the Wellington Straight once again. The run down into Brooklands. Grankvist still within DRS of Fletcher, but only just. Of course, 7/10 is the gap that you need to get your DRS activation. Of course, you can dump a little bit of your battery as well to make things a little bit easier for yourself, but you do need to manage your energy deployment across the course of the race. And Silverstone, if you've been keeping tabs on the whole Formula 1 thing this year, a lot of concern for the F1 drivers with how their battery systems are going to recharge, because there's not really a lot of place to harvest energy here. Of course, we just have a more traditional hybrid kind of ERS system here in GPVWC, so it's a little bit easier. Don't have to worry about clipping or any of those things, but battery management will still be on the top of your mind. We'll wait to see if who's going to be able to run with that one well. No changes up the front this time, down into Stowe already, as you mentioned, Ed, starting to get stuck into a little bit of a train out of the front leading group. It will be Loic Mounier who will be coming into the pit lane first with the soft tyres on, so we'll keep our eyes on to see what the Sparks Nix driver is going to be doing. We're also being told that Tom Stevens has been given a penalty for a jump start, so more disaster for the THR group. Stevens, an okay run of things early door, but that is going to cost him a whole host of time. Such a simple little error, but one that comes with huge, huge consequences.
Yeah, I did wonder if Maggio might have jumped the start ever so slightly, but I think he absolutely nailed the getaway, because it almost felt like the pole position for Grankvist was almost immediately undone in the first couple of seconds of the race there. But then Maggio had that little moment and it all turned around. So yeah, Stevens though will be definitely ruining that, because THR cannot really force it. Let's see a replay of the start from Linkschmann's perspective. He gets his Cat's Protection liveried THR onto the grid. Was there that crawl forward?
It must have been, yeah, he clicks it into gear and the car just jumped forward a bit. I think he may have been a bit forward in the box anyway. So I think maybe just that little lurch forward as it went into gear is what will have got him there. So that's really unfortunate for Tom Stevens.
He was a bit behind, he was trying to overcorrect essentially.
Maybe. We'll wait to see. Here's what happened on lap 1 between Andrzejewski and one of the Red Archer guys. I believe it was Van der Voort, as they went 3 wide coming into the left-hander.
That was Shepherd.
That's Beckett's. Yeah, it was Chris Shepherd that he got involved with. So 3 cars tangling. Hopefully not too much damage. I think they've all been able to continue onwards. That could have been a lot worse for that trio. So again, getting away with it just a little bit. Here is Chris Shepherd, of course, standing in for Danny van der Neet this round. So you can see on board, he sees the gap, and that gap just disappears. It was always going to disappear, I think. A bit of a racing incident there for me, unfortunately. But it's not ruined their races. It's just cost them a couple of positions and a couple of seconds. They'll be able to get back in.
Yeah, a little optimistic from Shepherd there. But to be fair, Shepherd is, I think, the full-time driver of that car, because Van der Neet, I think, is long gone at this point in the championship. So it's good to see him in action. And this is the move from Fletcher on Grankvist. You saw he just get a great run out of Chapel. Jan knew there wasn't really a whole lot of point fighting that. The big danger for Jan, interestingly enough, is not just Mounier right behind on the softs that are starting to decay, I think, in the heat that we're seeing, but also Xavier Ross and Norbert Jakob, both on the same strategy on the hard tyres. Track temperature by 44.3 degrees Celsius. No chance of rain, I think, on the horizon. Air temperature 22.2, so it's actually a lot colder than on the track itself. But with the heat wave we've been having, I think they've tried to sort of simulate the after effect of that in-game then. So despite the rain we saw in Superlight, the track's heated up again. And yeah, getting these tyres to the end, Grankvist is going to have to run long in this first stint, I think, if he wants to outfox Valet here and sort of, because in terms of raw paces, we see Maggio going for a move on Norbert Jakob and getting through into Stowe there. So good move from the Italian. Jakob decides not to fight too hard, and Maggio is back in play here. So all of a sudden, Xavier Ross, rather than just waiting for Mounier to run out of tyres in front of him, he may have a threat behind from Maggio on the medium. So Valet are making these mediums work in their favour at the moment.
But again, it's Valet Esports, and especially Alessandro Maggio. We know that as the stint gets on and on, they struggle to keep the pace in the tyre and struggle to keep that tyre life as well. So do keep a keen eye on what the yellow Italian cars are going to be doing with regards to their rubber and regards to their strategy as well. Update on the Tom Stevens penalty. The team have announced that they're going to appeal it. The penalty has been removed. It'll be reviewed post-race. And of course, if it is decided by our disciplinary committee that there is going to be a penalty, it will be a post-race penalty applied of some sort. Yellow flags in Sector 2. They are now gone away as the timing screen decided that Jose Soriano has... Stevens and Soriano are gone. So that's what the incident would have been. So Tom Stevens, jump start penalty irrelevant now because he's down and out of the race. Could still get a penalty anyway post-race.
That looked odd, the way they jumped forward on the timing screen. That might be a disconnection for both of them.
That would be very, very bizarre if it was a double disconnect, one after the other. We'll wait to see, but really unfortunate if it is. I suspect there must have been a coming together of some description. We'll get a replay here. Here is Jose. Soriano's gone straight on. That's coming down at Brooklands, the left-hander at the end of the Wellington straight. So he must... Oh, no! Stevens has completely missed his braking marker on the run-in, and they've ploughed into the wall. Was it distraction, or was... Yeah, he's just completely got that one wrong. Or Soriano was on the brakes a lot earlier than he was anticipating, potentially.
Ooh.
And just
Did Tom get the right-hand tire on the curb, maybe? Maybe under the grass, but that, it seemed very out of control. I suspect maybe Tom, a little bit distracted by all this penalty talk in the background, has made a bit of a mistake. This didn't feel like he was planning a move on Soriano. This feels more like he got caught out here, and then he's trying to avoid it at the last minute. Just a bit too late, tags that rear tire, and takes both of them out on the spot.
Yeah, I think he's just completely missed his braking marker there. You could see as well, even when he's on the anchors, he's going into the corner and almost touches Soriano at approaching 300 Ks. So I think he's got that one wrong. We do have a car in the pit lane. That's one of the TOPs. That's Daniel Scott, who's coming, of course, standing in for Owen McGorgy this evening. The rookie monster stalwart down in Superlight. The Scotsman has made a couple of appearances now for the TOP squad so far this season. He's in pit lane. That looks like it's a damage repair of some description because he has been sat there for quite some time now. So hopefully everything is all okay. Daniel, of course, a DNF, unfortunately, for him last time out at Imola. Let's hope he can at least finish his home race here at Silverstone. Here is Loic Mounier, who the soft tyres will be starting to go away from him fairly soon. And still a bit of a train at the front as well, Ed. Got 4 cars pretty close together and a small gap back to Alessandro Maggio, and then a bigger one to the likes of Maciej Młynak and Norbert Jakob.
Crucially, Milnek, our second place man in the championship, has cleared Norbert Jakob. You can see the orange car ahead in the background. Martin, Milnek's teammate, will be the next to try and use his medium tyres to get ahead. Interesting things in terms of the lap times. Fletcher has actually been lapping on the medium tyres about a tenth slower than Grankvist, so that tells me that he is trying to save tyres at the moment, knows he's got the track position, and that Grankvist on the hards, even with DRS, is not quite close enough to challenge, and he's got his hands full of Moynier anyway. So this is smart driving from Sergio, but his teammate Maggio is doing the exact opposite, lapping about 3/10 a lap quicker than him at the moment, and is closing on Ross in the battle for P4. As now we look at your cab, losing out to Carlos Martin into Brooklands, and now out of Luffield and into Woodcote. It looks like Mark Schluter going to go up the inside, and that looked very coordinated there. Cab, I think, really struggling on his hards, and here comes Frelick as well on the softs up the inside, and the Cop's taking advantage there. So that was only meant to be one position lost through there for Norbert Cab, but unintentionally he opened the door for Simon Frelick there, and that's the risk. If you let your teammate through, then anybody behind, he's a bit of an opportunist that's won here in the past, like Simon Frelick has, can be there to steal yet another position. So Frelick now into P9, and has been setting personal best laps of the race now, could demote both True Norths in quick succession here.
Really opportunistic move there by Shimon Frelick, capitalising on Jakab just getting off the throttle to let his teammate by. It was really aggressive on the defence there from the Hungarian, nearly shoved Frelick into the national pit wall, but Frelick held his nerve, kept it calm and kept it to the inside. In Cop's corner, he moves up to P9, does the TOP driver. We'll go back to our leading group, and still very much everyone stuck where they are. Maggio has now caught the back of this train, so it is now 5 cars out there at the moment. A bit of a gap back to Maciej Młynek in 6th, but if these are all holding each other up, then maybe they can push onwards. I definitely think it's a case of people not being able to overtake and being stuck. It's more a case of, I think, just biding time and letting the tyres run down gently, especially the likes of Grankvist, who will likely wanting to take this first hard stint as long as he can. And then, of course, Mounier behind on the softs. He'll be wanting to keep those softs alive as long as he can as well, so he doesn't have to come in too quickly or lose too much time if the tyres start to drop away. So I think we're just in a bit of a waiting, a patience game at the moment. It's a chess, not checkers out here at Silverstone as it stands on lap number 10 of 52, round number 8 of the 2026 GPVWC Super League season. Maggio holding onto those tyres okay for the time being. The Italian a bit notorious for being a tyre shredder. See what he can do with this one. Here is a replay of the onboard of lap number 1. So he did get the lead down into Village, and yeah, just lights up the rear tyres. Lucky to catch it, loses a few positions as a result. Just a bit too greedy and opportunistic on the throttle, and did come together as well with Mounier.
So Ross was defending from Moynier quite aggressively. There's a bit of a touch going in. There. And then it's this bit here where you've got Ross on the inside, Moynier's in the middle as Maggio's rejoining, so it looks a bit like Moynier not giving Maggio any space, but really, Loic hasn't got a whole lot of options there.
Yeah, he got shoved out himself. Again, chalked that one down to a racing incident. I'll be very surprised if there's any penalties dished out for that one. Hopefully no damage for anybody involved.
Fair play to
well.
Maggio, though, because he could have easily lost his head after losing the lead and letting his frustration get the better of him. But his teammates in the lead, dictating the pace in front of them. So that has sort of kept Maggio a little bit in play here. If Vale want to go aggressive here, they might try and pit Maggio first before they put Fletcher in, because obviously they don't want to double stack with their cars relatively close together within about at least 2.5 to 3 seconds here.
I'm not sure if that's the play I'd make if I was Vale Esports, because of course Fletcher leading the way, sitting comfortably, would have track position as well. Of course, getting Maggio some clean air would be good, but again, there's always concerns about what he's going to do on the tyres. So I think it's, yes, strategically, they're actually a bit of an awkward situation. What do they do? Do they box Maggio? Do they box Fletcher? When do they box them as well? 1-5, a bit of an awkward situation to be in, and especially when they're so close out on the racetrack as well. As you said, only a couple of seconds separating them. It's not actually that big of a pit lane delta here at Silverstone, even though the pit lane is very long, because it cuts out the last bit of track, and actually the pit and exit line is quite early on. You can get back up to speed pretty quickly here, so you don't lose a whole amount of time. It's a little over around 20 seconds for your normal pit stop. So they'll be thinking about that one, of course. I'm sure that the Italians will be on the blower to Sergio and Alex as well, just trying to figure out how they want to play this. But again, if we're playing this waiting game, it could also be a case that if, yes, they have the maybe advantage of having 2 cars in this fight, they can use that teamwork, even if it's a bit awkward trying to coordinate that. But it may well be, let's wait and see what everyone else does as well. We don't want to be the ones that pull the pin early and then maybe get it wrong and it hurts us a little bit later down the line. Is that a bit of lap traffic that I saw?
Yeah.
It is Daniel Scott, so the TOP driver is going to get involved. Won't give DRS to Sergio Fletcher just yet, but of course will have the DRS. You'd expect the Scotsman get out of the way pretty sharpish of this leading group, but if he doesn't, could cause a bit of chaos.
Yeah, interesting as well, just looking behind Maggio at the 2 HRTs. So Milnek is back into the pits for Scott. So Scott, given he was so far behind, letting the leaders through by getting into the pits, and actually coming to a dead stop as well.
That's going to be that for Daniel
maybe
Scott.
He's just realised that it wasn't really worth continuing, which is a shame, because it would have been fun to see if Daniel Scott could have got a few more decent laps under his belt here. But there we go. Sadly, early incident has put paid to his race then. So essentially what HRT are doing is Milnik's 1.7 seconds behind Maggio and lapping very similar pace, but Martin behind is being used to sort of hold up Mark Schluter on the hards. The deeper we go into this race, the hards will be a better tyre than the mediums because they'll decay slightly slower, so they'll be able to keep that sort of solid pace for longer. Martin and Moynier both setting personal best laps of the race as Martin just tries to make sure he can fend off his German rival behind him. But that is sort of creating a bit of free air for Milnek to sort of just save tyres in. He doesn't look to be in a huge hurry. He's just matching the times of the medium runners ahead of him at the moment then. So HRT have got a lot of options here. Milnek's being very kind to his tyres. He can potentially sort of... We are looking effectively, I think, at most of them on a 2-stop, but there could be a number on a 1-stop here, and I think Grankvist and Gross will certainly be aiming for that if it's sort of possible.
Of course, this massively benefits Shimon Frelich in P9 if Martin is able to hold up Schluter further and further. And that would be pretty good for the TOP driver to get up another position. Of course, Carlos Martin, a former TOP driver for the last couple of seasons. HRT themselves, not a sister team necessarily to TOP, but certainly within the TOP ecosystem, a step-sister team, I think is how I'll put it. They're there and they're kind of adjacent. So they will try to help each other out if that option is there. And especially Carlos, given that he is a former TOP driver, but it's not like they're actively going to jump out of the way for one another and things like that. But again, if he's trying to hold up Schluter, not only does it benefit his teammate in Maciej Młynek, but it does help Shimon Frelich behind as well if he's able to keep that pace up and close on in. We'll keep our eyes closely peeled on the Polish driver, race winner here last year, of course, taking first GPVWC Super League victory in the process. Down in P9 at the moment, seemingly struggling just a little bit. The TOP guys haven't quite got to grips with this new car just yet. Given, of course, he's been struggling a little bit for time commitments at the moment as well. A lot going on in his personal life as he gets squirrely on the throttle coming out of Luffield. Yeah, a lot going on, not just Forza Horizon 6, but he's doing a lot as well with his university Formula student team. You might see him popping up on your social media if you're part of the Polish motorsport scene. He seems to have taken that job on for those guys. But still, running a very solid race at the moment is Frelich. Let's see if he can close back in. In fact, I think he's actually losing time at the moment to Schluter, so maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe tyres are starting to go away. We're probably not horrendously far away from seeing pit stops, especially those from those in the softs, and then again the mediums a couple of laps later as well. Keep our eyes closely on this as well. Looks like Fletcher's starting to break away from Grankvist, and he has actually just pulled out of DRS range. I wonder if that's a I'm coming in soon, let's get a push lap in or two, or if there was a mistake potentially from Jan Grank.
Yeah, Oscar Soltero pits in. Of course, there's a big gap between Soltero and your cab, which is where Stevens and Soriano were before they came together essentially. So that gap's not really been closed in. Looks like Moritz Kropp, who's also quite a way down the field, also coming in for a pit stop too. So yeah, interestingly, Dylan Fisher actually had a really good opening couple of laps of the race, gained about, I think, 8 positions or something like that, to be right behind his teammate Bock, who was fighting away with Kropp. I saw them swap positions on lap 2, I think, almost every other corner. But yeah, now Kropp going for the sort of undercut here. Fisher now, with those 2 pit stops, has gained a total of 10 positions, more than anybody else, although Thomas Vack rivaling that with 9 positions gained himself then. So, yeah, Lunark are not out of this one completely just yet, but it looks like this may be them fighting for minor points rather than the podium places as they were last time out. And that really shows you how competitive it is. The dominant team from just 2 weeks ago are now fighting just outside the points-paying positions, with Jeffrey Fournier currently halting their progress, while it's Sergio Fletcher, who has not won since Malaysia, who is now back on top of the moment, with Grankvist, who of course has had his own big absence. As we see, that looks like Masculi lining up Thomas Vack and going up the inside on the medium, so the softs are really fading away here, Ross. We should be seeing a number of soft runners deciding to give up the ghost, and Simon Frelick is the next one.
Yeah, it's starting to get to that point, isn't it, where you can't go any further on that C3 compounded tyre. Look at the front left of Shimon Frelick. That is the tyre that takes most of the punishment here at Silverstone, and that thing is battered on that TOP car. Into the pits comes Frelick then. Let's see what rubber he's going to stick on, and it looks like R-Factor's not going to update it, so we'll just have to wait to see for a couple of seconds what he re-exits the pit lane on. Again, it's an old simulator, R-Factor 2. Sometimes it takes a moment or two
like the mediums,
to
I believe.
update. Yeah, if that's what it's saying on the live timing, that is typically pretty accurate. So we'll call it the mediums for the time being. But again, just wait for those sidewalls to update. See what's going on. He emerges, though, in P20. So lost a lot of time there in the pit lane. Just goes to show how close most of the pack actually is. I mean, if Sergio Fletcher was... He's ahead of Soltero, yes, that's good for his race at least, but if Sergio Fletcher was to pit now, he'd probably be looking at coming out in P18, just behind Pavel Andrzejewski, so it's still pretty close up at the front, and that's maybe why we're not seeing a lot of people make pit stops, even if their tyres are starting to run away from them, because they know it's going to cost them so much time in terms of track position, and as well, you're likely to come out with traffic and dirty air, so maybe it's more beneficial to just run the tyres even further, even if you don't want to. Let those behind come into the box, so then you have some clean air to make your pit stop and continue on your merry way.
Well, Frelick is definitely committing himself to a 2-stop, coming in as early as he has, Soltero as well. So if you're like Moynier here, this is a tricky situation, because you've got these softs that are now starting to really decay here. He lapped a tenth slower than Grankvist the previous lap, as Andrzejewski also now coming in. I think he's getting off the mediums, if I'm not mistaken, then. But of course, he's got a very, very worn engine, as Pavel Andrzejewski, probably the least healthy engine in the field then. So it makes sense to do something aggressive on strategy. We should be seeing his teammate Moritz Kropp coming through shot any moment now to relieve him of 21st position. There he goes. So he should get going just behind his teammates. So staying out a few laps longer hasn't actually hurt Pavel all that much. So the Fraser Tartans will try and work together to get both their cars a bit higher up the field. But yeah, Moynier will be feeling the pain of staying out in a few laps' time, and that's going to be annoying for Xavi Ross, having lost that third position early doors. If he ends up losing time behind Moynier, this could hurt him, as Pavel Andrzejewski being let through by Moritz Kropp. And yes, as I expected, Toby Davis on the blower, telling them to help each other out and put the man on the freshest tyres ahead in track position, in which case is the pole Pavel Andrzejewski. So Moritz Kropp very magnanimously playing ball. But look at this, the slight struggles for Moynier has actually helped Grankvist now, because this is where the hards will really start to excel as we close on lap 20, as Milak is going to be the first of our leaders on the medium tyre to come into the pits.
Interesting. Okay, so maybe HRT knows something we don't, or maybe Mache just couldn't go
we saw it
any
Canada,
further. No, we absolutely did. So tyre saving shouldn't be a concern for the HRT squad. Looks like it's going to be a set of the softs as well. So clearly a trick up the sleeve of the Holland Racing team. And back at their virtual base in Groningen, clearly some ruminations happening in the strategy room. So maybe they think the soft tyre is a better race tyre than the medium, and they're happy with how long they can run it. Again, there will definitely need to be another stop from Mache in this race, and we'll wait to see what his teammate's going to do as well. He's still keeping Mark Schluter behind. Schluter, the leading True North car as it currently stands, too far back to make anything happen down into Copse. So that's interesting. I did not think it would be Mache would be the first to come in from our front runners. I was almost certain it was going to be Loic Mounier, just given he's on the soft compounder tyre. So maybe Loic doing a generational tyre saving job right now. Again, maybe HRT know things strategy-wise that we don't. It's all to play for here. And this is the critical moment. This is when it's going to start to unfold and we're going to see the true picture of this race. Because for the last 18 laps, we've basically been sat in the status quo. That is Loic Mounier into the pit lane, so he can't take those softs any further. Let's see what ties the reigning champ, the championship leader, will go on to.
Well, he kind of had to, because this point, pitting as early as he has for Milnek onto the softs, is clearly an attempt to really aggressively undercut his way into, at least onto the podium, potentially into the lead as well, if he's got a clear air in which to lap in. It looks like he does. Jeffrey Fournier also pits out the way. Mounier will get out on track just behind Philip Pushkay, and it looks like, just Philip Pushkay just ahead of him in the Drake then. So Mounier on his own set of softs is matching, covering off Milnek in terms of strategy here. Both of them committing at least to a 2-stop, possibly to a 3 if they think that the soft is the best tyre at this point. Mounier will have to use different compacts. He's only used soft so far as he goes up the inside. No real defense from Pushkay on the old mediums there, and he's now right behind the 2 Lunarks of Bock and Fischer on their set of mediums then. So this aggressive strategy, and Spark really need to pit when they did to make sure that Milnek didn't undercut them there. And now if the leaders go out longer, potentially Mounier is going to get close to getting in the pit window then, which is about where, in between roughly where him and Dylan Fisher are at the moment.
2 sets of softs is really interesting, that call from the Spark Nix squad. Obviously, if you started in the top 15, if you're in the top 15 in qualifying, you do have to, at some point during the race, use the compound which you set your fastest lap of qualifying in, aka the soft. A rule change for this year. Last year it was your traditional, you start on the compound that you set the lap to, and this year you only have to use them at some point in the race. So your likes of Fletcher, Grankvist, Javi Rose, they all will need to come into the pits for a set of soft tyres at some point. Mounier, of course, starting on soft, gets it out the way early, but it's the fact that he's gone on to another set, and he's gone 19 laps in as well, so maybe that was tyre saving, but if he goes that distance again, he's going to have a very, very short stint on the medium, so you'd expect them to really push this secondary soft stint, and then probably a final medium C4 stint to the end, where again you can lean quite heavily on the rubber. But again, if you're able to take the soft tyres that far, maybe they are a better race tyre, I don't know, but it looks like for everyone else they are certainly trying to line themselves up into one-stop territory. A pit stop around anywhere from lap 27 to lap 32 would really be in the Goldilocks zone there, probably eking towards the 30s. So we'll wait to see. Strategy battles afoot here at Silverstone. We were briefly on board there with Mark Schluter, and then switching back to race winner last time out, Yannick Bock. He is currently stuck behind the Super Venturi of Jukka-Pekka Laulu, his teammate in tow. And then just behind them as well is Loic Mounier, who's managed to dispatch of Philip Pushkay pretty quickly. So you'd think Fischer, Bock, they're smart. They probably won't fight particularly hard with Mounier. They know that's not
Maggio
their
in the
race.
pits. Martin as well.
That's Pushkay getting done by Maciej Młynek, so we are getting more people in from the front of the road. There does come Philip Pushkay as well. Maggio, hardly a surprise he's in now. He commits onto the 2-stopper, goes soft as well. Interesting then from the Italian. Let's see what Carlos Martin is. Looks like it might be a set of softs for the Spaniard as well, potentially. So yes, softs seemingly a very much preferred tyre here. So both of them in from the mediums and onto the C3 soft compound of rubber. Lalu's in as well in front of Pushkay, who's just come into the pit lane. So a lot of people then clearly committing onto the 2-stopper here, Ed. And maybe, up the inside there, that's a move for Loic Mounier. Kept it late, Sebastian Vettel style, but gets it done. Nice stuff into Brooklands. So maybe, I'm thinking maybe from here, I mean, if the yellow flag's in sector 3 briefly, if the softs can go 20 laps, you can push the softs a bit more and go soft to the end potentially. If it's a good enough race tyre, that could be the way to do it.
Well, Mounier cannot do that because he needs to use different compounds.
Well, of course, yeah.
Maciej Młynek definitely could, though, because he got his medium stint out of the way early by being the first to sort of give up on the mediums, essentially. Maggio has done the same thing, but he's got much fresher soft tyres, albeit he's been undercut significantly by about 1.6 seconds. But that's a closable gap, particularly if Milnick's a harder time clearing these two Lunarks compared to Moynier. But we don't know when a lot of these medium rounds are going to come. Fletcher is also picked from the lead as well. So that's going to put Jan Grankvist on his hard tyres back into first place once again. So Fletcher is going to be close to himself and Maggio on exit here.
Soft tyres for Sergio Fletcher as well on lap 22 of 52. So he'll need to stop once again. Through goes Loic Mounier. So Mounier has got that undercut working in his advantage. Fletcher comes out just in front of Yannick Bock. So at least he's there with Loic Mounier.
It was Milnick that was the vital one that he had to clear there. And he's very much done that. There's Maciej Milnick, still behind Dylan Fisher in his home race. Still doing a great job. The two Lunarks working together well in this different strategy. But Milnick is going to now split them by going up the inside of Fisher into Brooklyn. So you can see behind Maggio as well on his set of softs. Desperate to join the party too. Setting the fastest first sector of the race actually is Maggio then. So still a lot to play out here, but with them being mired in the pack, Grankvist has got clear air up front and he is setting personal best sectors. Now he's got the lead back off of Fletcher.
Nice stuff there then from those guys. Oh, this is shaping up to be very interesting. Yeah,
right,
look at Xavi Ross. He's massively turned up the wick over the last couple of laps. Again, of course, a couple of cars diving out of the way and into the pits over previous tours, so that obviously means that you can pull up a bit closer. There's less space, but he's really closed that in. So Xavi Ross is a man on the move as it currently stands. Let's wait to see if he can continue this fine form. Xavi driving out of his skin, it would seem, here this evening. And again, a best finish so far this year and in his Super League career of 9th place. Currently running up in the podium positions in the Adonis car. What an evening he is having. Let's see if that form continues. Fletcher is putting the pressure onto Loic Mounier. Mounier is desperate to get through his old rival from 2025 in Jarl Tyne. Tyne, though, of course, a little bit off pace. He probably will fight to keep the Frenchman behind. We do have a yellow flag in sector 1. That I think that may be Yannick Bock, as we're very, very tight between Sergio Fletcher and Loic Mounier side by side through Brooklands and now Luffield. The soft tyres for Fletcher around the outside. There is contact. There's more wheel banging between the pair of them as they get the elbows out here on lap 23. Coming into Copse, it will calm down, but Fletcher tried to swing for the fences. Didn't quite make it, but shows he's got the pace, he's got the softs, and he wants to get a move on.
Yeah, this is beautiful. Exactly what Grant Grankvist would have wanted to happen here. Moynier doing him a little bit of a favour here, but of course he's got his own race to worry about, a little bit over the curb on those mediums, having undercut Fletcher. He's now feeling the pain of that as Sergio gets a load of DRS from the back of the THR of Jarl Tyne, then to the outside through Stowe. Will there be enough space? Yes, there will. On this occasion, it is going to be Moynier that has to yield there, as Masciuli now pits from what was fifth position then. So that's going to let these drivers all gain an extra position. And Fletcher surely will not see as much of a fight from Jarl Tyne, who is yet to pit in this race then. So that was a crucial move for Sergio Fletcher. The spin earlier, I believe, was Dylan Fisher, because him and Maggio were fighting quite hard.
Oh, Maggio's out of the race.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains that then. Fisher now coming into the pits for the first time as well.
So, yeah, confusion there. I wonder what's happened to Alessandro Maggio. I just realised that he disappeared from our timing tower, and he's now down and out as Fisher comes in. Maybe there was an incident between the pair of them or something, but then there was one Valley car. That is brave there from Loic Mounier, and shoves out his old rival, who's still sticking with him, though. Maybe a bit of blood between the Norwegian and the Frenchman, as Mounier almost into the gravel on the exit of Luffield. It's a better run of the exit of the corner for the THR. Look just behind them as well as Maciej Mounier trying to get involved. Mounier does go through. Mounier, though, with a great run as Tyne was held up. Is he going to try and stick it to the inside of Maggots? No, he will not, and will trail and try to get it done with a DRS on the run down into Stowe corner. But that was some really, really aggressive racing, but well done by both of Mooney and Yartine. Again, aggressive but fair. To the inside goes Maciej Winnick. That'll be textbook. Easy stuff there with the DRS. A bit of battery dump and really gets it done before the corner. And into the pits now comes Yartine as well. So he's decided he can't make that one last any longer. Here is a replay of Fischer and Maggio. Yeah, there's been a collision between the pair of them. And, the cars having intimate relations, it would seem. So that's what's happened there. Was there initial contact, or did Fischer just drop it? And then Maggio's obviously decided that it's not worth continuing after the damage. So coming up, and there is a slight touch. I think Maggio just wasn't expecting Fischer to get on the brakes in that position. Really, really unfortunate for Dylan there. And then Maggio as well. Let's follow him round and see what happened as he makes his way down into Brooklands. Is there more issues? Is there damage to the car, or does he just decide to call it a day? He makes his way through Luffield now. Looks all okay, so maybe a problem up at Cops potentially. Again, if there is damage, especially aerodynamically, that is where it's going to come into fruition. Or has the internet gremlins come back to haunt the Italian potentially? So again, still looks all okay on the run out of Cops and into Maggots and Beckett. Maybe this is where he drops. Disconnect. Yeah, internet gremlins are back. And the Maggio internet curse has revived itself here in 2026. Half a lap earlier, he was inside Dylan Fischer. And now the Italian's internet has sparked itself out of life. What a shame.
Matron. Okay. I don't think Dylan Fischer appreciated that one bit. But yeah, Maggio. Similar to what we saw with Tom Stevens, where he just misjudged it. And maybe the connection issues meant that he didn't realise he was quite that close to Lunite to begin with. But
he's already apologised to Dylan Fischer. I can see him saying, yeah, the internet was going at that point anyway, and just cars jumping around everywhere.
I mean, Fischer was qualifying that had already given Fischer a lot of work to do in the race. But yeah, that's going to be quite a lot of ground for him to make up. But yeah, Dylan Fischer, let's not count him out just yet. He's still going in P21, 7 seconds behind Chris Shepherd then. As we look at Xavi Ross, of course, Fletcher, by the way, that lap that Fletcher got held up, he lost 3/10 to Grandfist. Him and Ross lapping almost identical times in the 32.8s at the moment. Fletcher's lost that 31.1. Now he's been unleashed on the soft tyres into clearance. He's taken about 2 seconds out of them here. So Fletcher is very much in the pit window. It's just a matter of what's the stint length going to be like on these softs then. Fletcher has got the sort of flexibility. He's already used medium tyres in this race, whereas Grankvist, Ross, Schluter, Yakab, they've all committed to the one stop at this point, surely. And I think Bock also pit from the mediums to the hards, did he? No, he's got the softs.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody apart from our top four, and maybe Yartan as well, is committed to the mediums and the softs to try and get to the end, essentially. Predominantly the softs. So it's kind of a rerun of Imola in that respect, where we saw a lot of drivers gambling on the softs and just about being able to keep them alive at the end, including Yannick Bock. He used that strategy to win, of course. But yeah, Jarl Tyne has gone from the mediums to the hards, so I wouldn't be surprised if Tyne, given that he didn't qualify all that highly, maybe hasn't got the one lap pace here, is going to try and one stop and regain ground that way.
This year has very much been a year where fresher rubber is very much more advantageous than you would expect. Again, some of the just the quirks of R Factor 2 and GPVWC tyres. Of course, with the old car, we had the weird thing where it was actually beneficial to sit in the dirty air of a car in front. That would actually save you tyres, which is why we did get quite a lot of train races with the old car, because people were just happy sitting where they were and just letting the tyres keep their life going, shall we say. This year, I think the change that we're seeing is that the delta, the advantage that you get on a fresh set of rubber is massive. So it can potentially be a bit of a gamble going on to a one-stopper, but both True Norths being there with Grankvist and Ross, they're clearly happy with their race sims. They've clearly looked at the data and gone, no, this is beneficial. I mean, Sergio Fletcher is right on the back of Norbert Jakab. He also does have to box again, but the pace is certainly there for those on the fresh rubber, so could be tight at the end. My brain would be inclined to go two-stop or probably quicker, given the trends of 2026 here in Super League so far. But given that most of what I say turns out to be wrong anyway, that may very well may not be the case. So we'll wait to see. We are over half distance now, lap 28 of 52 here at Silverstone. Here we're following Eros Masciuli right on the tail of Shimon Frelich in the battle for P9. And once again, Ed, like you said, the 4 front runners committing to the 1 stop, everybody else seemingly going for a 2.
Yeah, potentially could be a couple doing a free stop in there as well, particularly if they're quite aggressive on the softs. As we see Masciuli hunting down Frelick, who was one of the first to pit for the medium tyre, and Masciuli now in the Adonis. Identical car to what Xavi Ross, of course, is driving in 2nd position up front. It's going to be fascinating to see if Xavi Ross decides to pit for the medium. Surely they're doing 1 stop for the mediums at the end, and that's the strategy they're committing to. The only other thing is, could they run the hards long enough to go for the softs at the end? I don't see it quite happening unless Jan Grankvist and Xavi Ross are being ultra conservative. Here's Masciuli, pulls a little bit to the inside, almost to try and scare Simon Frelick, but Simon sees that one coming and is not going to fall for that one in a month of Sunday. So Masciuli, the Italian, will have to have his wits about him and use any advantage he's got in that Adonis machine to overcome the TOP. Of course, as you say, they're very friendly, familiar teams with each other, Adonis and TOP, so they know each other. Not, of course, the case with Adonis and Super Venturi. So Xavi Ross may be staying behind at the moment, as we see Fletcher has got past your cab into 4th position, so he's now only 14 seconds off the lead. What I was going to apologise earlier, I noticed Tyne is not in fact on the hard tyre, as the graphic on screen showed. He's actually on the mediums, of course, so he is definitely, he's got mediums, so we'll have to 2-stop at the very least here.
Certainly will. Let's get a replay of how Sergio Fletcher got it done on Norbert Jakob. Of course, fresh tyres for Fletcher compared to the very, very worn hards on that True North car. And that is basically as simple as they come here in a modern Formula car at Silverstone. The DRS, the battery dump down the hanger straight, and then just the move up the inside into Stowe. It's a very wide opening entry to that corner, even though it's a very, very difficult corner in itself. So it is fairly easy to get moves confirmed there. Similarly doing that. Xavi Ross still on the tail of Jan Grankvist and looking to try and sniff out his first Super League win, but these 2 guys still yet to box. Both of them committed onto the 1 stop. I'd expect in anyway really within the next 5 to 7 or so laps, potentially even sooner, one of these guys coming in for a set of the mediums. It's 23 laps left to run here. They've manage these tyres really, really well. You can see Schluter there in the background similarly on this strategy. So that's a
big gap between 8th and 9th for us, between Martin and Masciuli, about 14 seconds. So at the moment, they would be coming out into sort of P7 and P8 respectively then, depending on when they pit, of course. Ross at the moment, I think, is quite content to stay behind because he's getting a bit of a nice slipstream and tow down the straight from Grankvist. And they're lapping they were lapping in the low 32s. Last lap around 33.0 actually for Grankvist, 33.1 for Ross. Meanwhile, Fletcher, 31.4. So he's taking chunks at them at the moment. And they have sort of realized, because we're committed to the 1 stop, we're not going to worry about covering off any of these guys because we've got that massive gap to essentially Masciuli now, having just cleared Simon Frelick. So Masciuli himself, 131.4. So he will get close to the pit window, but he's still 30 seconds behind at the moment then. So that's going to be really, really fascinating because essentially they may come out either just ahead or just behind Masciuli, and that could be really what makes or breaks their race.
We'll wait to see, but
depends when Masciuli pits too, of course.
Yes, absolutely. The Adonis, I'm sure that Xavi Ross will be on the phone to the squad and across to Eros as well. They'll be trying to figure this one out because
they want Eros ahead because then he can hold up Jan, sure.
Yeah, of course. Or just if there's a bit of free air, if if Masciuli wants to come in or anything like that, really. So we'll wait to see what they're doing. But I'm sure that Adonis will certainly be communicating with one another right now, trying to figure out their next step in their game plan, because Xavi Ross is currently looking like he's in contention for a race win here this evening. It would be Adonis's first race win in a long old time here in GPVWC. So I'm sure they'll want to try and get that one.
For P6, Milner getting ahead of Moynier finally, who stuck behind him for several laps, and there we go. So Martin has actually caught up to his teammate, such is the amount that Moynier on those now quite old mediums is holding them up there on the soft tyre here. So Spot will look to be an inspired call to get that track position is now starting to backfire for Moynier in this stint, because he's essentially a bit of a sitting duck for the HRDs now, although he's held on admirably. He's been fighting somewhat of a losing battle.
Certainly has. So Mounier maybe
bad news for
things...
the one-stoppers too. If the medium is really not the tire to be on, then it forces them either to hold out for the soft, or they have to really just push the medium and make sure that they pit late enough that they're not going to die on the mediums, essentially.
Well, we did see with these guys who came in early doors for the two-stopper, those on the mediums, a lot of them were coming in at a similar time to those who were on the soft. So if you can certainly make the softs last around about 20 laps with some careful driving as well. Loic Mounier going for a ride on the Exeter Cops there. So maybe it is just the case that that C4 tyre is not a particularly good race tyre here. The lifetime advantage it gives you is neglected by a drop-off in pace. Bit of a wobble there from Carlos Martin. Either trying to clear something off the tyres or checking the force feedback still working, or just trying to keep himself awake as well, potentially. But all looks okay. So yeah, maybe the mediums are not all that good as a long-term plan. So at this point, Grankvist and Ross would be able to go onto the softs at the end. So maybe they are trying to go a hard soft stint. Which, again, if you can make the softs last 20 laps, even if you're off pacing them and managing them, if they are a better race tyre, you just go on to them. So I think we will be seeing Jan Grankvist and Javi Ross and Schluter and Jakab similarly coming in for that red sidewalled C3 compound. Back to our front runners, Javi Ross still very much on the tail of Jan Grankvist. Just doing a check. Adonis, of course, have not won a race since 2023. That was Robin Pansar at Spa, if you cast your mind back a few years ago. Of course, only a couple of years before that, 2020, did take the Teams Championship as well, with Adam Maguire and Liam Duval doing much heavy lifting. Of course, world champion that year was Adam Maguire. So it is a team with a lot of
close. For Chapel there, it almost looked like a little bit of struggling for Grankvist. DRS open, Ross is going for it around the outside, no resistance from the Super Venturi whatsoever, and for the first time this season, Xavi Ross is in the lead, but he's immediately pitting. There we go. So he was very much on the ball there, knew this was the moment to pit, and Grankvist deciding not to fight and immediately pitting behind. So he's got to hope that the faster pit crew can get the Super Venturi out ahead here. Schluter as well has seen what the two in front on the same strategy doing, and he's following suit.
Let's see as well where they're going to come out in regards to Eros Masculi as well, as the pit crews do virtual battle, and it will be the soft tyres, certainly for Javi Ross. It will be for Grankvist as well, and Ross has executed that move perfectly. He waited until Grankvist didn't expect it and got the advantage on the run into pit lane. Looks like they're going to come out P6, so actually well in front of Eros Masculi there. So either Masculi's backed off a little bit to give them some free space, or they just had enough of an advantage
that they had enough.
Yeah.
Catch him.
So this is now essentially the net race lead, as Maciej Młynek now trying to have a look on Norbert Jakab. Jakab yet to box. Martin has gone for a loop down at Brooklands. The Spaniard that's surely locking the brakes, or maybe even contact with somebody. He drops behind Ross and Grankvist as well. He may well jump straight in for his final pit stop if he's cooked those tyres. What on earth happened to Carlos? Let's ride with him. He was fighting Mounier. Is there contact? There must be contact. There is contact. And maybe we need an onboard there, because from the outside, it looked like Mounier didn't leave him enough space, but it could well have been just two lines converging into one. And yeah, Mounier, or it's a bit of both. Mounier kind of chops across, but Martin, a bit too much speed into the corner and wasn't really going to make it. So a racing incident there, and Martin, of course, the big loser as a result. He drops down to P7 in front of Mark Schluter. So Jakab still, Jakab's just boxed actually. That is all of our one-stoppers now into the pit lane. Should be a set of softs for the Hungarian as well. Sergio Fletcher leads, but still needs to box once again. And I tell you what, Carlos Martin, I think I may have, well, I don't think I was wrong. I was wrong earlier when I said I think the two-stopper is going to be more advantageous, because Javi Ross right now is very much in the net lead of this race.
Yeah, there we go. And I was about to say, with Grankvist leading Ross, it's reminding me of that 2024 race where it was Panzar in the Adonis. As we see side by side with Simon Frelick comes Norbert Jakab. So Jakab on the fresh tyres easily got the inside of the medium shod Frelick into village there. And it is the true north of the Hungarian Jakab ahead into P9 then, and free to chase after the yet to pit in this stint, Eros Masculi then. So your cab may not have the track position, but now he's got the right tyres. We should see the True North have a much better final stint of the race then. But yeah, I think Martin, at least unlike Imola, Martin's still in the race, but that contact with Moynier will be controversial, certainly from HRT's perspective. At least they've still got Milnek ahead, only about 6 seconds behind Sergio Fletcher, as we now look at Martin trying to fend off Mark Schluter's, another of our one-stoppers who's just put a fresh set of softs on. So difficult to see Martin holding on here. Mark Schluter's going to be off like a rocket. He was only about 5 seconds off of our 2 leaders. Up the inside he goes. And yeah, the HRT on its spun, overheated softs is surely thinking about that final stop. And in comes Carlos.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. That'll be his final stop for Carlos Martin. A real shame, him having a very, very solid race. Hasn't lost too much time, though, in the grand scheme of things. So we'll wait to see where he comes out, then how that's going to affect it across the remaining laps. Lap 35 of 52. We are now on here at the British Grand Prix, round number 8 of the 2026 GPVWC Super Light season. It looks like that hasn't updated, so we'll let you know what tyre Carlos Martin... No, it has updated. It is going to be another set of softs, it would seem, for Carlito as he makes his way back out. I'll just confirm that on our live timing. You can, of course, follow the live timing on RaceView. That is race-view.com. Click on the GPVWC bit. It is indeed a final set of softs to get to the end of the race for Martin. Jakob to the inside of Frelick there. This will be nice and easy down into Brooklands, and indeed it is so. Done well before the braking zone.
Is that
the Hungarian up to 8. Yeah.
He's already ahead, so that is unusual. Now Soltero next in line to challenge last year's race winner here. So Simon will have to get some defensive moves out because he's got Soltero, Bock, Pushgate, Tyne, who is in fact on the hards. It has updated again. Though he didn't switch, I think, from the mediums to the hards. He has just stayed on the hards then. So RaceView is telling me contradictory info, which is always great. As we brief yellow flag, Xavi Ross right behind Moynier then, who's yet to pit. And this could be great news for Grankvist then, who could close back in this battle for the leaders. Milnek makes what could be his final stop as well from P2.
Nice stuff there from then. So, this is getting very interesting, is it? Sergio Fletcher still holding out at the front of the pack. There's no way he's not getting to... He needs to stop before the end of this race. So Mounier P2, Ross P3, Grankvist in 4th. You'd expect that these guys are going to be the trio that are fighting potentially all the way to the end of the race. Well, certainly Ross and Grankvist anyway. Here comes Javi Ross up the inside with the DRS, with a bit of battery, easy as you like, and gets on by into Brooklands, a very popular spot for overtaking this evening, it would seem. And now he's got an 8-second gap to claw into to Sergio Fletcher, and look at the gap that he's already gained over Jan Grankvist. That well-made could have been the move that just decided this race, because Grankvist is losing time, stuck behind Loic Mounier on the old mediums, and already Mounier is a second and a bit back from Javi Ross. Grankvist needs to get a move on now, or it may be too little too late, unless he's got pace in the bag still.
It's still quite a stint on these soft tyres, remember, so it could be that Ross is pushing them quite hard at this point, and Grian, knowing he didn't have the track position, is playing it a little bit safer. He will get the slipstream, the lower wings, the advantage here going into Stowe, and Moynier would be wise not to try and hold on around the outside. He's going to contemplate it just briefly, but the Spark knows it's not going to be able to hold on to the podium in this particular stint. So Moynier, again, it's a case of championship leader not doing anything silly here and consolidating. Well, we saw Carlos spinning around. There could be a decent amount of points. I think Loic is still on for a P5 or P6 at the very least at the end of this one if he holds to this strategy.
Wait to see, but yes, interesting developments here at Silverstone, and it's all to play for. So 1.5 seconds now is the gap between Ross and Grankvist for the net race lead. In comes Shimon Frelick for his final pit stop. And is Javi Ross again, is he using a bit more tyre early doors? Is he trying to get a gap out and then manage the race outside of DRS? Or was it just a case of Grankvist getting held up? Now he needs to push a bit more, and then he needs to chew through tyres. Soft tyres has to be expected for Frelick for his final stint. He'll be coming out probably around like P15 or 16. No, maybe there is P15. Up the inside goes Jukka-Pekka Lally, almost, as they're side by side into Village. This is a pretty tight one between Frelick and the road to Formula of Thomas Vok, who's going to look to the inside. Can he get it confirmed? No, it is Jukka-Pekka Lally that he was doing battle with, and then Vok behind. So Frelick slots in the final points paying position, but of course with fresh rubber, it will make pretty easy work of Jukka-Pekka Lala, you'd expect, and actually forces him out of the way
Wide.
as he bombs his way through Brooklands, but will just hold on to it into Luffield, I believe.
And the leader pits.
And yes, in Sergio Fletcher comes, so Javi Ross now into the race lead proper. So let's see what the battle has in store. Mounier also in behind as well for his final stop. So it's come good for the one stop. It's here on lap 38 of 52. Javi Ross, Jan Grankvist, and then a couple of seconds back, Mark Schluter in P3. All of them on the one stop. Jakab similarly on a one stop, but down in P8, languishing a bit, it would seem, as Fletcher nearly meets the wall on the way out of pit lane. Let's see how much the pace advantage is going to be on those soft tyres, if Fletcher can work his way back into the fight for the lead, or if it's that gap just a bit too big.
Well, crucially, he stayed well ahead of Milnek then, so he's really only got the 3 ahead to fight with. He will have fresher soft tyres, but it depends. We've seen Xavi Ross set at 1:31.0. Mega lap for Jan Grankvist, 1:30.271. He's taken nearly 8 tenths out of the Spaniard on that previous lap. So Jan is a little bit annoyed, I think, that Xavi got the better of him and has now got the bit between his teeth going to this final stint. He doesn't want to waste any time in retaking the lead here. So Xavi Ross, what does he do now? Because this is the dangerous stint for really all of our top 3. They know Fletcher's coming for them on the softer tyres, and they've got to keep them alive for quite a while here. So unless there's another stop for softs that they're going to have to do late in the race, this is going to be a tricky one to manage here. And Jan Grankvist surely got to be the best bet for managing his tyres here, because he's done it so consistently in the past. And Xavi Ross, looking to prove himself, has done an excellent job so far, but surely he is going to have to really bring out the best performance of his career so far to keep Grankvist at bay. 1:30.37 for Ross, 1:30.1 for Grankvist, another 2 tenths gained.
This is an interesting dynamic. Jan Grankvist, his first race back after a 3-race retirement from GPVWC. Having that hunger back, having that passion back for this series, and wanting to put himself back on top, wanting to put his Super Venturi car with his new super engine, in-house engine on top for the first time since the opening round of the season in Australia. Javi Ross
win on the road in Australia either,
no, of course, did not win on the road either. So looking to take P1 for the first time properly this year. Javi Ross, though, is searching not just for his first GPVWC Super League podium, but his first GPVWC Super League win, his first GPVWC win in general, and looking to get this storied Adonis squad back onto the top step for the first time since 2023 at Spa with Robin Pansar. Of course, Eros Masciuli in the sister car, a vice champion with this team back in 2016 and a multi-time race winner with the squad. A squad that, of course, took the driver's title, took the team's title during COVID in 2020, but in recent years have certainly been a little bit down in the doldrums from where they perhaps deserve to be. Jan Grankvist is now inside the DRS range of Javi Ross, and we've got 12 laps left to run. We saw in the opening stint for these one-stoppers, Ross was happy sitting in the tracks of Grankvist and only dived ahead before they got to the pit lane to give himself that advantage going into the pit stops. Are we going to see something similar from Jan Grankvist here, where he just sits waiting, silently watching the driver in front, or will he want to get in front early doors?
I think you want to do it as early as possible, because the later you leave it, the worse shape your tyres are going to be, and they pit on the same lap. So it's a very even fight between them. So interestingly, time on the hards is now up to P9 that a lot of these stops have played out. So Carlos Martin has got through him, time lapping in the 32.0. So it's going to be quite a job for THR then to limit the damage in the home race. Eros Masciuli, about 3.5 seconds behind, is catching him by about 1.2 seconds a lap at the moment. The other battle going on is that Milnek is still just ahead of Jakab, but I think Moinier and Fletcher are the two fastest drivers on track at the moment. If you leave out Grankvist, of course, who, as we rightly point out, is flying up to the back of Xavi Ross then. So certainly, I think Moinier and Fletcher are going to both. I think Fletcher may be able to catch Schluter here, but I think fighting for the lead might be a bit of a long shot. And even then, he's going to need Schluter's tyres to really fall off a cliff in this final stint here. So Valet not out of the picture for a podium. Fletcher's done a very good job on this, the best of anybody on this two-stop strategy, but he's really having to chase in this final phase of the race then, which is where he's got to do all the work. Fastest final sector of the race again, 30.1. The leaders in the 32.0s at the moment.
This is getting interesting as we approach the dying phases of this British Grand Prix. And we are potentially setting ourselves up for a proper grandstand finish here at Silverstone. But there's still time left on the table. We'll wait to see. Sergio Fletcher is 11 seconds away from Mark Schluter, but on fresh tyres. But you got to think that gap.
He's 6 seconds away.
No, 6 seconds away. No, that's the overall intervals, not the other one. I was reading the timing tower wrong. But still 6 seconds. That's still quite a big chunk of time to try and cover up, even on fresh tyres, even if you're pushing that Valet Esports car. So maybe Sergio Fletcher's looking at a podium here, maybe not. We'll wait to see, because of course he's then got to get through Mark Schluter as well. Presumably there'll be a bit of DRS, some battery involved in that one, if it is to come into fruition. Lap 41 of 52, 23 cars remaining. We've lost Lucas Murno, Tom Stevens and Jose Soriano, the pair of those guys coming together down into Brooklands. We also saw us lose Daniel Scott and then Alessandro Maggio, the internet gremlins, coming back to haunt the Italian for the first time in a long old time here at Silverstone. But everybody else has been pretty clean so far. It's been very respectable. None of that super lights chaos that we've had, to say the least, where it was all a bit messy from the get-go. It was raining, to be fair, last Tuesday. Up at the front, Ross and Grankvist still so close together, but no cigar yet for the Finnish driver. The 2024 world champion is there or thereabouts. He's floating in and out of DRS range, but certainly not close enough to make a move just yet.
I tell you what's also interesting, Schluter has actually been lapping quicker than the both of them, 1:30.7 last lap around, only 3 tenths slower than Fletcher. So Mark Schluter is trying to catch up for track position. This is exactly what Jan Grankvist did not need. His old rival from a couple of seasons ago, Mark Schluter, of course, a multiple winner in Super League and the reigning FSL World Champion to boot as well, is really giving them a lot to think about then. So it may not necessarily be Fletcher where the challenge comes from in these final laps. It could actually be Mark Schluter himself. And maybe the reason he's pushing is because he's worried about Fletcher stealing that third position from him on the fresh tyres in these final 10 laps then. So he's got no option but to push as hard as he can and just hope the tyres hold on.
Wait to see, but Mark Schluter could be trying to involve himself and making this a three-way fight for the race lead. We're not unfamiliar with those here at Silverstone. Cast your mind back to Superlight in 2024. A certain Alex Laho remembers that one very well on the run down into the Vale chicane.
Ooh,
but we are
Xavier Ross, 1:30.1, 3 tenths quicker than Grankvist. So he's
yeah,
back here.
They're pushing now. They're really on it. Yellow flag in sector 2. Hopefully everyone is okay. Can't see anyone dropping down the timing screens. Or Jeffrey Fournier's dropped a couple of places. But the yellow flag is gone. Looks like he may have had a spin. Another yellow flag and Fournier's gone. He's out of the race. The Frenchman has DNF'd in the Red Archer VRT car. What's gone wrong? That was coming out of Copse Corner. Side by side with one of the FTR cars. On the run-in was their contact between the pair of them. There was banging wheels, more banging wheels, and Fournier slides off onto the infield. And I think decided to just call it a day as we ride on board with the number 21 driver. It was Andrzejewski, who's had a pretty rotten day, unfortunately. And yeah, just contact and a bit of pinball. And off the road goes Jeffrey Fournier, and I think he just called it there by the looks of things. He comes to a stop and, yes, decides to not continue onwards. So a real shame. That makes it 22 left in this race. On lap 43 of 52, you can see Schluter in the background, 3.5 seconds away from Javi Ross, about 3 seconds away from Jan Grankvist. Grankvist is still just maintaining position inside that DRS activation range for the time being, but still not close enough to make the move just yet.
Oh, what a story this could be if Xavi Ross could hold on here. By the way, last time Adonis won Spa 2023, who was commentating? It was a certain Mr. Edward Hunter. So just a correlation is not causation, but certainly in this case, there's somebody's watching out for Xavi Ross, and not just his own driving skills doing the hard work here. But yeah, certainly Grankvist is really pushing to put the Spaniard under pressure. This could really just come down to if the tyres hold on, if Jan Grankvist can force Xavi Ross to just push them that little bit too hard and maybe force a mistake out of the Spaniard. It has happened before, of course, at Silverstone, so he'll want to push that right to the back of his mind, to the point he doesn't think about it, and just focus on what he needs to do, meeting these apexes, making sure that he doesn't do anything too silly here and that he defends when he needs to. But Xavi Ross, the best defense is a good offense. He's trying to push to make sure Grankvist doesn't really get within the slipstream here. And all the while, the tension really building. It's like Schluter's charge. He's only taking about half a second out of them at the moment. His lap times are plateaued in the 1:31.0s, whereas 31.7 and 31.5 for Grankvist. Meanwhile, Sergio Fletcher, 30.4. So he's catching, but it's not quite quickly enough. Jakab on tyres that are a lap or two older than Milnek has been keeping him very, very honest indeed. So there could be a move for P5 as well, but I think Milnek has just about got the legs on him, and Mounier matching them both in front rather than catching them.
We'll wait to see. But there's only about 7 or so laps left. Yeah, we are doing a lot of waiting and just waiting for that little spark to ignite the fire. It's right there, but we're just still waiting.
We had to wait till the final lap last year, didn't we? So
yeah, we did.
The lead move for the lead. I wonder if Jan's got that in mind now, if he can't get the track position early enough now.
Well, that could well be the case, Ed. It's very much a case of, you know, it's there and you can see it. You're just waiting for somebody to pull that pin and send it. The question is when does that happen? And again, we'll keep our eyes very firmly on Mark Schluter as well, who might be running out of time and a bit of tyres to catch up to the back of Ross and Grankvist. We're following around Yannick Bock at the moment. He's running P13, the double champion, to winning last time out, his first race win since 2022, and his sabbatical. He's doing okay so far this evening. Lunock will probably be a bit disappointed with how everything's unfolded. Of course, Dylan Fisher, unfortunately, getting into that incident with Alessandro Maggio. Maggio with internet issues, as we've mentioned. Sure, that one will probably be going to the stewards a little bit later on post-race. But Bock just seemingly not quite being with it. Maybe, well, not maybe. We know that Lunock, after having a bit of an advantage in development, have been caught up by the other teams. Just struggling, it would seem, here at Silverstone for the time being is the German. Still in the battle with Soltero, Frelick and Pushka just behind as well. Not too far away from them is Thomas Bock. So let's wait to see what's going to happen. Lap 46 of 52 now, and no one really quite close enough to make a move.
Yeah, look at the one stop for Tide. It's worked well for him. He's 10 seconds ahead of Soltero at the head of this train then. So he's been lapping pretty consistently personal best 1:31.5s, whereas Soltero 1:31.4. So he's only losing up attempts here. So he is looking good for P10 when a lot of this race he was running P16, P17, just outside the points then in that opening stint. So THR played it smart, and Tyne has really profited. But of course, in the scheme of things in the Team's Championship, it's damage limitations. You see Tyne really pushing to try and catch Masculi here. But Eros Masculi on the fresher soft tyres has surely got quite a big advantage here, 2.3 seconds ahead of him.
To see Tyne though, yeah, this race has worked out pretty well for him. Of course, his teammate issues, shall we say, for Tom Stevens. It's been a night to forget for him. I'm trying to be nice. Yeah, it's been a night to forget though, unfortunately, for Tom Stevens. His race, of course, didn't last very long. The team are appealing the jump start penalty that he would have got, so didn't serve it anyway.
Could prevent a grid penalty for the next round though.
Yeah, could potentially do that, but again, that's just going to be something we're going to have to wait to hear what's going to happen from the DC. As round the outside goes Soltero. Yeah, Frelick tried to get it the inside, even should I say. He must have tried the outside at Brooklands though, but he will get it done into Cops. Bock's going to try to follow through, can't quite do so. Soltero slightly slow off the corner though. Watch out for Philip Pushka just behind as well, almost side by side into Maggots and Beckett's. So Frelick up into P11. That will probably be his final place if he's able to escape this group behind. It's some 10, nearly 11 seconds to Jarl Tyne in front. But it's all getting a bit dicey, all getting a bit spicy late in the day. Everyone wants as many points as they can get their hands on. Here at Silverstone, Frelick finally making that move. Bock will also be looking to do the same on Oscar Soltero. And then Pushka just behind Thomas Vox, also closed back in the Rotor Formula car. So this could all be chop and change towards the end as well.
Bock versus Pushka. That's already rolling back the years, isn't it? For the battle of the former champions, isn't it? So just Bock with 2 titles, Pushka with just the 1 from about 10, 11, 12 years ago, isn't it? So, well, it might be more recently than that. I can't remember. But certainly the 2 Germans, it must be said, are having a great little fight for the lower points positions. Well, fortunately for both teams, I think they would have hoped for a little more, but Soltero and Frelick having a good fight. Frelick finally getting through. Now he's on the soft tires into P11. I think that's probably about the best he's going to do out of this one, because the gap to time is just that little bit too big. Even if he starts taking 2 seconds a lap out of him, there's only 5 laps left. Interestingly though, Fletcher has still been taking about 6/10 a lap out of Schluter. The gap now 2 seconds. So third is, as I said, third is still on. I think Ross and Grafis are doing just too good of a job for Fletcher to really have enough of a delta to challenge them in these final couple of laps then. So we've got a battle for the lead and a battle for P3, but they're not quite the same battle. And look at Milnek. He's now 10 seconds behind Fletcher. That shows you how much he's been pushing.
And you got to wonder as well, Schluter has been pushing. He was trying to catch Ross and Grankvist in front, so maybe he's starting to run out of tyres a bit as well.
He's doing the same lap times as they are. Oh, look at the
True.
rear twitching out on Fletcher as well. There's nothing left to chance here. Valet got to go for it.
Well, this could be interesting in a couple laps, though. Even though he's doing the same lap times now, if he's still pushing onwards, Fletcher, when he gets to him, will certainly be in an advantageous tyre position. But may not be the most difficult move for the Valet Esports driver. We will wait. Again, he's still a little bit off at the moment. I know we're doing a lot of waiting at the moment.
You're at a restaurant, Ross. You're constantly waiting.
I know we're doing a lot of waiting, but again, we're only a handful of laps from the end, but things are just not quite there. They're not quite clicking at the moment. It's going to be another one of those Silverstone cases like last year, like Superleague the year before. I think it is going to come down to the final lap, if not the final 2 or 3.
Hasn't Xavier Ross, though, been incredibly impressive?
Oh, absolutely.
Holding up
It's
to
phenomenal.
an insane amount of pressure from someone as experienced and successful as Jan Grankvist has been at the top level for quite a number of years now. Really, ever since he won that Super Light style and then his title in Super League 2 years ago. And look at this, Ross now really under pressure, because Grankvist just nipping to the inside through Village and the Loop as they go through Aintree now. Is he going to be close enough? I think he might be just a little bit too far back, but Ross now really starting to defend a bit here as they are not far away from some lap traffic just up the road in front of them. I suspect that might be Van der Voort that they're about to lap here, but Grankvist, oh, does one not to hit him, the back of him through the exit of Lovefield there as they go through Woodcote. And yeah, with just 3 laps to go, this is the right moment, I think, for Grankvist to just absolutely go for it. And Super Venturi, well, it's been such a drought for them in the last couple of races with not a lot of points to shout about, in all fairness. And Jan will be super keen to take victory for them once more. Lalu, his teammate, is only about 3 seconds away from Thomas Back in the final points paying positions as well. So there's every chance there could be double points for the Finnish squad here. But Xavier Ross is driving out of his skin at the moment.
Grankvist lost a bit of time through Chapel as well, so a bit more breathing room for the Spaniard as we are about to go onto lap number 50. Yellow flags in sector 2, and they're still out. Can't see anybody dropping just yet, but hopefully everyone's okay. They're now gone. It's Danny Amaris who's gone round. He's just given it a bootful on the exit of Luffield, but he's okay. That's the main thing. Lets everyone go through as well as is there damage? No, I think he's just gone for a little spin, probably some cooked tyres, but at least he is going to be able to finish this race this evening. Let's see what happens to the Lion GP driver coming through. Oh, already starting to lose the rear on the way in, and then on the way, oh yeah, goes quite early, so too much speed in the corner, then gives it a bootful and it just snaps away from him. Pretty easy to do, but at least he's still in the race, and again, does well to stay out of the way of everybody as well.
Yeah, get out of the way of the Frelick Soltero Bock Pushke battle quite quickly there as well. So he had his wits about him. But that shows you what can happen when you are pushing the tyres that little bit too far. And Mires has done, let's see, he pitted, I think, on lap 27, 28 for those soft tyres, if I'm not mistaken. So they have done quite a stint in, oh no, 42, he pitted on lap 42. So he's just been pushing them, and they're starting to overheat then, unsurprisingly. So yeah, everybody was taking risks to try and make something happen here, and none more so than Sergio Fletcher, who's finally caught Mark Schluter for that final spot on the podium. Is there anything that Schluter can do to hold on here? He's looking for the middle of the road, but Fletcher's got the run, sorry. He's nipping to the inside at Stowe. Schluter tries to cut the door, goes a little bit off track, so Fletcher will, bump from the outside, there we go, and trying to get alongside into Vale and Club, and this is just really, Schluter may as well fight like crazy, because if he can hold on for just two more laps, that's third place for him, but Fletcher just looks so much faster here.
The True North driver is fighting tooth and nail to hold on to that podium in front of the fresh rubbered in comparison Sergio Fletcher. That Valley Esports car is quick, but we know that Schluter has the ability to make his car as wide as the racetrack when defending, even if some drivers may consider that defending to be too aggressive for his own good. There's a bit of traffic up in front of them that make their way through cleanly. Yannick Bock as they're making their way through. Grankvist is close as well. Bock fighting with Soltero. Through goes the two-time champion as they start their penultimate lap. And then this group as well on the run out of Copse Corner and into Maggots and Beckett's. Grankvist has lost time coming through Copse Corner. He'll lose more time through Maggots and Beckett's as well. So time really running out now. They've got 1 and a bit laps left to run here, Ed. And Grankvist has almost dropped outside of DRS range there. He needs to save that battery and get the move done, probably down into Brooklands.
Yeah, it looked like Ross was quite slow through Brooklands and Luffield as well. That's where he was catching Fletcher. Now getting another go. Schluter is going to go to the outside. Will Mark Schluter leave enough space on the inside without understeering? And they do touch! And Schluter's nearly into the pit entry there. He rejoins the circuit. The wheels locked. That could have been the end of the race for both of them. But Fletcher is through and onto the podium with 1 more lap to go. But can Grankvist steal the lead from Xavier Ross?
Got away with that one, did Mark Schluter just a bit, and Sergio Fletcher as well, to be brutally honest. Up to third goes the Spaniard. Ross is deep into the loop. This is Grankvist's opportunity. This is Jan Grankvist's time. He'll have the DRS. He'll have the battery. As Ross tries to break the toe, he's going to force Grankvist to surely go the long way around. He tries the long way around. He's sticking with it. That long way is going to become the inside, but he's too deep. He's too deep at Luffield. He pokes the nose. There's contact between the lead pair on the final lap of the race as they come towards Copse.
My goodness, that was close, but Jan Grankvist just going that little bit too deep on the brakes. Has that cost the chance? Could that allow Xavier Ross to take his first victory in GPVWC and in Super League, of course? How much would this mean to the Spaniard? He joined in the middle of last season, was so quick, able to set fastest laps at ease, but finishing at the points was a much trickier proposition. He did that, and he's come on leaps and bounds since then. Just a couple of corners to go, Ross, and this likeable young Spaniard could be coming away with the biggest win of his career.
Grankvist, unless there's a mistake from Ross or he finds something miraculous into the Vale chicane, I think it is done and dusted. He saved it for the last lap. He threw everything at it, but it wasn't enough. For the first time, Xavi Ross is a race winner in GPVWC. He wins the British Grand Prix, takes Adonis Engineering's first race win since 2023. And coming into this race with a best finish of 9th, he's only gone and stuck it on the top step of the podium, fending off one of the finest we've ever seen in the process as well. What a performance from the Spaniard, as it's a Spanish P1, P3 as well. Sergio Fletcher does hold on from Mark Schluter. And Schluter maybe not happy, either losing attention or driving into Sergio Fletcher there, as the top 4 cool down and take a breath. But it is Xavi Ross from Jan Grankvist, from Sergio Fletcher at the end of the day. And yeah, I'm not sure if that is Schluter being not happy or just losing attention there for a moment, because he's just
they were trying to run 4 wide. So I think I will give Mark the benefit of the doubt on that one. But yeah, you certainly could understand him being a little aggrieved at the contact. He was certainly defending aggressively. I wouldn't be surprised if Sergio was maybe a bit annoyed in turn. But yeah, that's taking nothing away from this man, Ross, who had been kind of threatening to do a giant killing performance for so long. He was signed up by Adonis. I know Menno Klontenko is heavily involved in that team, very, very highly rates Xavi, and for good reason too. So yeah, another Spaniard gets his name in the winner's trophy in the last year or so. We've had Martin taking his first victory a couple of seasons ago. We had Fletcher taking his first win earlier in Sepang, and now Xavi Ross joins the company. So, yeah, never mind Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso. It's a Super League you got to be watching if you're a Spanish fan. But, wow, certainly 2 Spaniards on the podium, and Jan Grankvist, of course, will feel maybe it was one that got away, but still a strong return. And Xavi Ross really, by making that move just before the pit stop, took control of the race. And from then on, Jan, his challenge at the end, almost enough for him to get through, but Ross held his nerve and held on and did so fantastically.
Xavi Ross has done what the Armada couldn't and has conquered Britain. What a performance from him, as he very rightfully celebrates with his teammate. Just an unbelievable drive, a brilliant, brilliant final stint as well, and has shown that he has what it takes to compete right at the top in our Factor 2 sim racing. Ross takes his first victory and Adonis's first win since 2023 here at the British Grand Prix in GPVWC Super League. A returning Jan Grankvist threw everything at him, especially on that last lap, but can only manage second. What's the point, Jan? Should have stayed away. Still, great to have the Finnish driver back on the grid, and a similarly great drive. Sergio Fletcher does make the 2-stopper work at least and slides up to P3 before the final 1-stopping drivers in Mark Schluter and Norbert Jakob. P4 and 5, a really well done job there for the True North guys. Maciej Młynek is in P6 and does eat away at Loic Meunier's championship advantage by a couple of points, but will likely have been leapfrogged by Sergio Fletcher for second in the title race. Meunier himself in P7. Carlos Martin, after that spin and contact earlier, he's in P8. Eris Masciuli, P9 for the Sister Adonis car. Jarl Tyne, after a long and pretty difficult race, does bring it home in P10. With, some sort of retribution, I suppose, there for the Norwegian. P11, race winner here last year, Shimon Frelick. Yannick Bock ends up in 12th with Philip Pushka, Oscar Soltero, and Tomasz Vach rounding out our points-playing positions. Then it's Jukka-Pekka Lalu, Pavel Jajewski, who was massively down on engine power coming into this race. Dylan Fisher, after that incident with Alessandro Maggiorelli, does recover to 18th, but he'll be disappointed with that one. Moritz Kropp is P19, Tom van der Voort in P20. And then our final couple of drivers, and then a whole host of DNFs. Davide Mares does finish a couple of laps down, but at least gets to the end of the race. His first race finish in GPVWC Super League. A huge congratulations to him. Then, unfortunately, we lost Jeffrey Fournier, Alessandro Maggio, Dan Scott, Jose Soriano, Tom Stevens, and Lucas Murno at the end of that one. Well, definitely a slow burner there, Ed. It was all up in the air strategy-wise. A lot of tension out on the racetrack as everyone was trying to figure out everyone's strategy. But when push came to shove, it was Xavi Ross who got it done. And then with a masterful drive, keep that pace up, keep those tyres in form, and keep Jan Grankvist behind as well. It's a well-deserved victory for the Spaniard.
Yeah, a breakthrough performance. And it didn't start out strong, did it, with that move from Loic Meunier, but it ended up burning through the softs in the first stint. And that put Loic committing onto the 2-stop, which means he finishes only P7, loses crucial ground to both Milnek and Fletcher in that Drivers' Championship. And not to mention, of course, True North having a good day, 4th and 5th, getting a load of points. And Adonis getting both their cars in the top 9 with Masciuli backing his teammate up. But that really concludes the race portion. Now all that's left really is the interview portion of the broadcast, Ross. And we have got all of our podium sitters and Jukka-Pekka Lalu, I think, waiting in the waiting room. I think Menno Collin is in there at the moment congratulating his driver.
No, that's understandably so. But we will kick things off, of course, with our race winner. His first race victory in GPVWC, Xavi Ross. And what a way to do it as well, my friend. A brilliant, brilliant drive from yourself. And a lot of pressure from Jan Grankvist in that final stint, but you held him off superbly. Talk us through how you're feeling.
Well, thank you, first of all. I'm completely on a cloud 9. I don't know what even to say. I'm just very happy finally the result came off. All from last season, also at the beginning of this season. I had the pace on training to be there, but I just couldn't finish the job, and I had a lot of mistakes on the previous races. But there it is, first podium and first win.
Yeah, it was a brilliant drive from yourself. We saw as well that move on Jan Grankvist just before you came into the pits for your soft tyres. Was that just a case of you knew that it was probably going to come down to the pair of you and you wanted to have the advantage coming into the pit lane?
Yeah, I think, well, he is also a very experienced driver. And both of us, I think, we were waiting, like, who's going to pit first. And I know all the time if I stayed behind him, I had the chance to decide where lap I can pit, so I can undercut him or not. And when I saw him backing off a bit on battery, I said, yeah, let's go overtake him and he will pit after me. And yeah, it was exactly like that. So now from the second stint, I was in control of the race.
That is awesome stuff. Ed, any questions for our first time race winner, Javi Ross?
Well, first off, congratulations, because I remember commentating on you last season, Javi, and you were so quick, able to set fastest laps almost in the blink of an eye, and some great qualifying performances too. But the races, you kept hitting bad luck, so it's great for you to finally take what I assume will be the first of many victories in Super League. So a really great performance. I wanted to ask about the decision to start on hards. When you saw a lot of people switching to softs, did you think that you maybe made the wrong call, or did you know that the one stop or how long the pit lane is at such a low speed limit, did you know it was going to pay out in the end?
I mean, if I had started like from top 10 and behind, I would probably went for a two-stopper. But starting at the second row, putting the hards meant that I was on complete control of the race pace. So yeah, I would let, like it happened, Munir in softs and Sergio in mediums to push in front of me and just leech DRS, save tires, and extend my hard tires to the maximum, and then do a maximum attack on the second stint with the softs.
Exactly, and you very much did that, and you had to, because Jan was doing the exact same thing behind. So yeah, fantastic performance. Gracias, thanks for talking to us, and congratulations to yourself and to Adonis Engineering on another win, long in the making. I was commentating last time Adonis won in 2023, so I was saying maybe it's a good luck charm.
Yeah, thank you for everything. Also, I want to thank all the guys from training, Menno for taking me into account for this season. Hope he gets well, because he's a bit sick. So yeah, I couldn't be more happy than this. Thank you.
Awesome job, Xavi. Congratulations. Given that they're there, we may as well quickly speak to the rest of the Adonis squad in Menno Klon and Eros Masciuli. How are we doing, guys? First race win for you since 2023. You must be so happy.
Well, as Adonis team principal, I'm still sweating. I was just yeah, it's not only the weather here, which was quite warm, but also the last 10 laps were yeah, they were amazing, but also very stressed, and yeah, I'm unbelievably proud of my my team on both drivers. But with Xavi to win here, yeah, he put in so much effort the whole season, and in his results it was never that noticed. But yeah, he did such a good job, and then he got P15 last race, and you just feel that it's in there, and yeah, now we got the win, and this is his first podium. It's not, we don't start with P2 or P3. No, we just get the win, first time in the podium for Xavi. So over the moon, and also with Eros to get a P9 is just for the team. We didn't have the best results as a team this year, and now yeah, we just jump yeah, with over the 30 points. It's amazing. I'm very proud.
Awesome stuff. And Eros, if you are with us as well, of course,
yeah.
You yourself have a lot of history with this team, yourself a vice champion with the squad some 10 years ago now. How does it feel watching you guys getting back onto the top step?
Yeah, I'm really happy for the team, for Menno, and for Xavi, that from the beginning of the season he pushed really hard the team. He pushed really hard with the setup, and he totally deserved this win. I think you took me into the channel while I was insulting myself for quali, because I fucked again quali, and I cannot stop doing that, it seems. Anyway, in the end, it was after that it was a good race. Bit of a difficult start. I lost a couple of positions. In the first stint, I was really quick with the mediums. I felt really good. The two stint of soft was not the best, but in the end, P9 was a solid result for me, and it was really good to score so much points for the team. I have to thank also our engineer Oppecini that did a really good job putting us on the right windows in the race, and we collected a lot of points today. I am happy about that.
Oh, awesome stuff, Ed. Anything for the remainder of the Adonis squad?
Well, I hope the win and the double points in the top 9 makes you feel a little bit better, Menno. But yeah, congratulations. Yeah. As I say, you can't spell Adonis without Ed, so I'm glad to be commentating another picture.
no.
Yeah, just kidding.
Very happy and just see what the rest of the season brings. But that we have this one on the board, I think that was the ultimate dream, and we got that, and also because of both drivers. I think Xavi. Yeah, he developed himself. He put in a lot of practice, but also Eros and Xavi is a very good match, and I'm just very happy that they both help each other, and that's just also what I wanted to say here on the stream is that you might not see it in results, but there's so much work, force, and everything behind it, and that we now get this is for the whole team. It's just for the whole team, it's a win.
Exactly, and long overdue too. So, congrats to both of you on a very good day for the team, and I'm sure we're going to see Eros continue to score big points, and that his day will come too before too long. So, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Great
Ross, who are we going to go for next?
Should we go for second placed Jan Grank next after that small excursion just to hear from the Adonis squad? Jan, first of all, welcome back. Long time no see, etc., here at Super League. A great drive from yourself to second place. Couldn't quite get past Xavi at the end there. But still, you must be happy with a really solid race on your return.
Yeah, it was very much fair play from Xavi. I thought I was being tactical by, I didn't let him pass, but he overtook me before the final stint. And I knew it was just basically the race between the two of us. And yeah, I thought I was going to be able to save up enough, just chill behind him, and then really, really put on the pressure and attack on the final few laps. But as you can see, his pace was incredible on the final stint, and I was surprised his tyres actually lasted all the way till the final lap. All I could manage was try and get alongside him, and fair play to him. And I said this, and I don't know how many people took it as a joke, but Xavi has always been able to win a race. It just doesn't show much because he's ended up DNFing from quite a few things and then just being at the back of the pack. But no, he's got the ingredients. He's just got the strange phenomenon of then also being absolutely at the back of the pack or DNFing for some reason. So yeah. Happy for him. It was a good race.
No, it certainly was, and yourself did a fantastic job on your return as well. It's always good to see you on the grid. So what's the plan from here? Is this your back, or is this just a one-off? Maybe you'll be here occasionally in the future.
I'll let you in on a bit of a secret. Actually, we just chatted about alcohol just a few days ago. I got this great idea. I actually streamed my race on my POV. You can check that out. A little bit of self-plug here. But I decided, you know what? I'll just have a grand old time. And I ended up drinking a few long drinks before quali, and that put me on pole, and I was well surprised. And honestly, going forwards, unless it becomes too expensive, this seems like a great idea.
The Jan Grank special drink, ladies and gentlemen. Not alcoholic at all.
I will have the drink. On my way.
Ed, any questions for Jan?
I can see the trip to Japan went well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the race of 2024. A great pole lap, as you say, Jan. It's not often you see Maggio at the height of his powers pipped to pole position like that. But yeah, and then in the race, it reminded me a lot of 2024, where you were on the one stop, and it was Robin Pansara in the Adonis on that occasion that you beat, and this time it was Zeeuw that, as you say, pipped you just before the pit stop. Were you consciously trying to sort of remembering what happened in 2024 and thinking I can just one stop it again and they won't catch me in time, or was it more of something you had figured out in the lead up to this one that the one stop was the way to go?
It's funny we actually recreated that, and no, on paper it was definitely going to be faster to two stop, but it was just safer to just, you know, bank on the track position, because who knows, if it was going to be a tight race all the way till the end, then the DRS change could have really spoiled any sort of movement through the grid. Even if you've got a great tyre delta pace push to pass, it's near impossible to try and overtake in Silverstone if the car in front of you also has DRS. So yeah, decided to go with a one stopper. And yeah, I was surprised from, like, we have this group obviously with whom we do like a final race sim before the race to sort of see just like where we're at and what we can try to share information. And yeah, we ended up having a bit of a varied pack there. The True Norths obviously carrying the same engine. They did go for a one stopper, but then I don't know if they didn't have the pace or if they just had bad timing with traffic and that. But yeah, it was a mixed bag. Yeah, it was really a mixed bag. We really couldn't decide whether it was a better idea to go for a two stopper or a one stopper. But well, now looking back at it, even if it's on paper quicker to two stop, I think the sort of just leeching through DRS, what ended up just happening to me and Xavi, was the way to go, with the one stop being surprisingly quick. And yeah, funny we recreated that moment with Adonis with Robin Bansar obviously following me all the way till the end. But yeah, this time I let concentration slip just a little bit to get him ahead of me, and really I thought I could get him by the end, but no, he drove a solid defense and yeah, just drove flawlessly.
Well, you gave it a fantastic challenge. It was brilliant to watch, and clearly the joy is back in your life as well as ours. So thank you very much, Jan. It's always a pleasure to commentate on you, and yeah, I guess I'll see you. Well, if I'm still here, hopefully Caitlin will be back in 2 weeks for Spa. But yeah, there's also the certain other championship you compete in that I am still occasionally somewhat involved.
There's a certain championship.
Yeah, so I guess I'll see you there too. But anyway,
yeah, it's been a great time. I'll catch you whenever.
Thank you very much, Jan, and cheers. Enjoy that second place.
Cheers.
Great to speak to Jan Grankvist. Of course, don't drink and drive. This is sim racing, so there's no legal. But
well, it's also important to stay hydrated, so maybe it was, as I say, a non-alcoholic drink.
Yeah, no, we had like a good old hour conversation about Japanese drinking culture at 1 o'clock. Really interesting, to be fair, to hear about his trip. But yeah, clearly, at least the passion's back.
Sergio Fletcher has to say.
Yeah, should we get Sergio in from third place and just move swiftly onward? Sergio Fletcher, great drive on your way to third place, and really solid way to get there as well with the two stopper. Compared to the one stopper that seemed to be the better strategy. How are you feeling after a really well earned podium?
Yeah, I'm really tired. It's quite kind of pushing the whole race. It's a shame because I thought about doing the one stop before the race. I was doubting, and then I went for the two stop, and then we saw that it was the one stop was the better one. But even if I went for a one stop, I think the result would have been the same. I would have been behind Jan and Xavi either way, I think. But yeah, really happy with the podium. Hard fight at the end with Mark. It got really close there. I don't know if you guys saw it, but we nearly died like twice. So yeah, happy with the podium. I gained points on Loic and Matchet, which is my main fight. And yeah, happy with the result.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Obviously, the two stoppers seem to not quite be the strategy to be on. But you certainly had the pace here this evening. Do you think if you're on a one-stopper, you could have been fighting for the win at the end, or was it a case of just couldn't quite get tyres to work it?
I think, I would have been on that fight with Xavi and Jan, 100%. But yeah, I was just adamant that the two-stopper was better and our race sims. But yeah, they executed really well. I also failed to break away from the pack. That's why I went to the lead. I tried to drive away, but if I was pushing more, I would have destroyed the tires and I would have ruined my strategy. So yeah, the fact that they managed to sit behind me, it's what really got me those 5 or 6 extra seconds at the end that I missed.
That's fair enough. Ed, anything from you?
Not too much. I think there's just 2 things that come to mind. There was the call to run the softs as long as you did. That meant that Moynier undercut you, so there was that other car that you sort of had to pick off, and you did a great job of that. And then, of course, there was the moments with Mark at the end. I think there was 2 moments at Stowe. The second one in which you locked ties with him, and it was lucky both of you didn't take each other out on the spot. It looked like Mark was a little annoyed at the end. Obviously, he'd been in third on that strategy for quite a while, so maybe a bit annoyed to lose the podium there. What was your take on things?
Well, I haven't seen the touch yet, but I feel like...
I think you might have felt it.
I nearly spun and I saw the mirror, he nearly went to the wall as well. But I couldn't really give any more space than I did on that corner without going off myself, so... I was expecting a touch from Mark because I knew he was going to understeer with dead tires. But yeah, it's a shame that we touched in that angle and he at least saved it, so... And yeah, with Loic, I wasn't too worried because knowing that I was using the mediums in the first stint and he wasn't, even if he undercut me, I was gonna catch him on his medium stint, so I wasn't too worried about that. Even though when he pitted the first time for mediums, I was even more calm. That's why I didn't rush to cover, because I was like, oh, he's on mediums, I'm gonna pick him up either way when I pit.
Well, you'll be pleased to know I've just looked at the standings, updated provisionally. At the end, it's a Moynier, 117 points. The next one is you, Sergio, 100 points, 17 behind, and 3 ahead of Mathieu Milnek. So... Oof. Yeah, it's getting closer and closer.
I thought I was going to be closer than that, but yeah. Loic's done such a good job at the beginning, but yeah.
He just keeps picking up points. So what can I tell you?
Exactly, yeah. On his worst day, he's P5. On my worst day, I'm P18. That's the difference between me and him right now.
Yeah,
so
you're allowed one off day, I think. Yeah. No, his worst day was P13 in Sepang. I mean, it did help that Lucas Murno took him out, but we won't mention that.
Yeah, he murdered him right in front of me. Yeah.
Murder, yeah. But still 8 races to go. Still a long way to go, Sergio.
I guess I just gotta keep up these drives and just pick up as many points as I can and try to keep it clean.
Indeed. Well, best of luck to you. Congrats on your... Oh, is that your third podium of the season? No, second podium of the season. Oh, third. Yeah, you were second in Australia. Yeah, sorry. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But there we go then. So, yeah, still quite a long way to go. And it's good to see you finally... able to make that the more aggressive strategy work on this occasion, because there are a couple of times it didn't quite pay out for you, but this time you really gave it everything and put in a fantastic show for us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Happy with the result. Thank you, guys.
All right, Ross, have we just got enough time to squeeze in Mark Schluter, or should we end it there?
I think
we got 2 minutes to 10. Yeah.
We got 2 minutes, and then Yuka Pekalala, who's been waiting as well. So we'll make it 2 quick ones, but we'll start off with 4th place Mark Schluter. Mark, a really solid drive from yourself and from Norbert as well in the other True North car. 4th and 5th place for the pair at the end of that one. Could have been 3rd. Just missed out on the fight with Sergio at the end. Talk us through.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I think I could have fought for the win, but with my grid drop and then being stuck behind both HRTs, mainly Carlos, I think I lost maybe 6 to 7 seconds, maybe even 8 seconds, and that cost me against Sergio in the end. It's a bit of a shame because I think from raw pace, I was a bit quicker than Sergio and would have deserved the P3, but yeah, unfortunately my tires in the end were just really dead.
Well, still, it was a really solid drive from yourself to P4, and on another day, what could have been, I suppose, but. As I said, not just a great race from you, but for Norbert as well in the other car. Shows that, do you feel that True North, you're really taking steps forward and are looking like you can be fighting at the front for the rest of the year?
Well, I hope so. Now that Jan is back from his little hiatus, I think we will be a bit stronger. Depends how much effort he wants to take in, because I think he's still he wants to take it a bit easy now. But we are all glad that he's back. You see how good he is still after months of not driving the car. But yeah, I think the next track should also be a good one for us. It just depends. I think Norbert has the pace, but he's a bit struggling compared to me since after Jeddah, but I think he will pull through in the end.
Awesome stuff. Ed, anything for you for Mark?
No, I think, Mark, you mainly covered it, but it was great performance in qualifying. I say unlucky about the group penalty, but at least you got it out of the way now. And yeah, another P4, that's put you up to 9th in the standing. So I think you're about 7 points ahead of Yannick Bock. 57 points to your name, so only about 3 behind Tom Stevens, if I'm not mistaken then. So yeah, every chance you can get up there and fight with your teammate Norbert for the really high positions in the top 10 in the Drivers' Championship and the teams as well. So unlucky to lose out in the battle at the end, but did a great job to keep it out of the wall, I must say. And yeah, congrats on another really strong finish.
Yeah, thank you. I think that my front left was dead helped me a bit of not spinning out. It was really close with Sergio. Was a bit unhappy, but yeah, I think he left me the most room he could, but I just understood because my front left was just completely gone. And yeah, I'm also not looking really at the Drivers' Championship. I'm just looking at the Teams Championship, like just trying to keep the P5 at least, and maybe dip in the top 3. I think the top 2 are a bit too far away. Maybe we can get P3 if we keep this up for the rest of the season.
Sure. Maybe a Drivers' Championship is more an FSR goal at this stage in that championship. But anyway, thank you very much for talking to us, Mark. And yeah, best of luck for the second half of the season. We always enjoy watching you give it your all out there.
Yeah, thank you, Ed. Have a good night.
You too.
Great to hear from Mark Chu there. Can we quickly get Jukka-Pekka Laulu in? Is the only other person that's waiting? So. Sorry to Remco de Zeeuw, probably wants to bend sick of our voice at this point, but we'll quickly grab him because he has been waiting the whole time. Mr. Jukka-Pekka Laulu, another solid drive from yourself. Your teammate, of course, back and on the podium places, so things looking good at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how solid that was, but I mean, most likely for my last ever race in SL1, at least for now, I mean, at least it was somewhat decent, I guess. But yeah, not much to say really. Like, I just can't race with this car. I can't drive properly, so it was rather tiring and painful race, even though I was in battle of points. So I don't know. At least Jan is back, so that's good for the team point of view.
No, that's very true. I think you're being harsh on yourself. You know, it's not like the performances are absolutely horrendously dire. Even if you are struggling a little bit, but that's okay. That happens sometimes. But going forward, again, just missed out on the points, unfortunately, here today. But second half of the season, of course, the car will keep getting better and better as the season goes on. So are you thinking maybe you can make your way back into the points pretty soon?
Well,
it's not really what he set up there, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm trying to put the positive spin on it. Come on.
I mean, hopefully, from team point of view, the second car will get in the points, but I don't think I'm going to be the one driving. So I think that will do a big difference. At least I hope.
Well, you know, if you are driving it, or you're there for a few rounds, or you're not driving it, you know, at least hopefully the team can make a step forward. And, you know, it'll be a shame if you're not on the grid. But you know, at the end of the day, that's your decision. Again, I was trying to put a positive spin on it and make it nice, but you know, if you are
I mean, I won't disappear from team point of view. Like, I mean, I will be there, but I won't. Like, I'm not really wanting to drive. That's the thing. Like,
but we can still interview you, right?
Actually, yeah, I mean, actually, like honestly, like if I can just get someone else who can get some points and stuff, like I will be more than happy from what's in the sidelines and maybe trying to help with the boys on strategy department and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I think from team point of view, the second half of the season should be hopefully better. So I guess that's a positive.
No, very true. Well, that's all from me. Ed, anything else for Jukka-Pekka Laulu, or is that
I can
it's ending on a downer?
No. Well, let's end on a positive then, Jukka-Pekka, because I remember 2 years ago, I think it was it 3 years ago, sorry. We did the race in. You finished second on the podium, your best result ever at Silverstone, those sort of mixed conditions. So you've definitely had some highs as part of the team. Obviously, the last couple of seasons, the cars not really suited your play to your strengths all that well, and you've nonetheless pushed through and done the best you can. So I think I have to say let's focus on the positives, what you have achieved, and if everyone had competed in another RFX2 championship, and I might know someone who runs it and can get a seat for you better, but nonetheless, Jukka-Pekka, if that is the last we see of you in Super League for a little while, I think we are going to miss you, because we always love talking to you, and yeah, you've always surprised. Even when you've been struggling, you've always been incredibly consistent, and I think you're going to be very much missed if off the grid if that's your last appearance. So I want to say thanks for entertaining me and several others over your career in GPVWC, and let's hope it can continue somewhere in the future.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, like there has been some very nice highs on my time on SL1 even, and then like even this year, like the Malaysia points, like I don't care how many people finished that race and how fast I was like on raw pace, but like we kind of got this kind of thing of like polar bear trying to find Arlington, Texas, because I was trying to get on the points, and finally in Malaysia that happened, and that was definitely the high point of the first half of the season for me. And like I mean, even with how bad everything has been and stuff like that, like I'm still happy I managed to get at least 1 points finish and get something for the team. So like it certainly could have been worse. So it's like good to still remember these happy moments and move forward.
Yeah, you and Jan have fought for the team's championship against THR a number of times as well, and although THR got the better of you, you definitely put up a really strong fight. As a team collectively, it wasn't just Jan, as you say, doing all the work. You scored when you could, and you did so pretty consistently as well. So yeah, thanks for talking to us. And if it is goodbye, then it's been a hell of a ride, and we're going to miss you. And if it's not goodbye, then I guess we'll talk to you again soon as a team manager.
Yeah, maybe. Never say never.
Exactly. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you, Jukka-Pekka, and best of luck for the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, yeah.
So maybe, ending on a positive.
Yeah, I guess we ended on a positive. But it was good to speak to Jukka-Pekka Laulu anyway, and I'm hoping that we can speak to him some more in the future, be he in the car or behind the virtual pit. Anyway,
maybe he could become a commentator. I mean,
maybe we're always hiring the GPV media group, and he is very charismatic. So get in touch with Toby Davis if you fancy giving it a shot. But that is all we've got time for here. We'll be back 2 weeks' time as we pick up in the second half of the season at Spa for the Belgian Grand Prix. But a really interesting race tonight, a new race winner in Javi Ross as well. I don't think you'd ask for much more out of a GPVWC Super League race.
True. Well, certainly it was a slow burn, but the ending was extremely exciting. We're both third and first up for grabs there. And yeah, certainly this is a day that Xavier Ross is going to remember for a long time to come. I'm not going to wait 2 weeks, though. I'm going to wait just a week and do FS1 with Owen and see how Alex Lowe gets on there at Spa. Yeah, so we got FS2 and FS1 to keep you entertained in the meantime.
We certainly do. Of course, as well. We've got all that to look forward to over the next couple of before we're back. And of course, that'll all be at Spa as well. So don't worry. Plenty of GPVWC action to enjoy as we do go into our European stretch properly and enter the second half of 2026. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. We'll be back for Superlice in 2 weeks, but of course or Super League in 2 weeks, should I say. But of course, many more racing going on in the meantime. We'll be heading to Belgium from myself, Ross McIntyre, Ed Hunter alongside me, Remco de Zeeuw on the cameras. So long, farewell. We'll see you at